What's good, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the What's Good Games podcast, your source for video game news, commentary, analysis, and funny stuff every Friday. I'm Andrea Renee, joined in studio by one Miss Christine Steimer.
It me, hello.
And Miss Brittany Brombacher is here.
It me, hello.
Hello.
I'm not there with you.
You're my little parrot.
You're not here with us, but you will be here with us next week, which is very exciting.
I know.
So we are pumped because the Patreon exclusive streams are happening next week. So next Tuesday, January 21st. That's the day. Hold on, let me just fix my... Brittany, I'm going to fix my microphone. You want to fill in the kids on what's happening?
Fill in the fine folks about the streams.
Fill in those fine kids with some knowledge between those ears. Yes, so next Tuesday, the 21st, we are having our Patreon exclusive streams. This will be our happy hour Q&A, where all patrons can watch and ask us questions. And then we have our after-hour stream where I think the plan is to finish playing Watom.
Oh God, are we gonna finish that
Oh yeah.
game?
So in addition to Watom, which is hilarious and we should play, my mom's also gave me a video game trivia, like tabletop game. It's just basically just cards, like trivia cards. And I opened this up because I was like, oh, this is cute. They think I'm a gamer girl and they got me a video game thing. I bet you it's
really
gonna be
hard?
trash. It's actually like the first three cards I pulled had a really great mix between retro knowledge and like modern video game knowledge. Like one of the games was from 2018 and the other game was from like 1999. So I was like, okay, moms, I see you. So we could play that too.
That would be
good.
fun. Okay. So those are some of the things we'll be doing on the 21st. And also, in case you missed it, our Life is Strange 2 spoilercast should now be live on all of your preferred podcast platforms and on youtube.com/whatsgoodgames. It's a meaty one. What was the final clock in time? Like 2 hours? And
yeah, it's just over 2 hours. So I had to cut a couple of things from the video version that made it into the audio version. So the audio is 5 minutes longer. Bonus footage.
Ooh,
if you listen to it. But I am very proud of the edit that I did on this interview. So in addition to our almost 90-minute long spoiler cast where we literally talk about everything, so again, spoilers, I sat down with Michel Coe and Jean-Luc Cano from the Don't Nod team, and that interview, also containing a lot of spoilers, is after our spoiler cast, so it's one big meaty episode. So hopefully you guys have played. If you haven't, please play. The game is great. Thank you to Square for hooking us up with copies of the game, for sponsoring our party at PAX West, and for all around being a great publishing partner to work with. So yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
It's a thing we did.
It is.
Yeah.
Accurate.
Content.
What's next?
That's it.
I was just going to wait and see how long you guys could
I
go.
can't. No, I'm like, no. Awkward silence. Let's fill it.
So I do want to give a disclaimer that I've been recovering from bronchitis and I have a couple coughs in the spoiler cast and I might be coughing a little bit. This episode, I'll do my best to get away from the microphone, so please forgive me for my illness.
Nobody will ever forgive you.
No. Those
That's
1-star
fine.
reviews
I'll live with your 1-star reviews and my coughs. We are going to PAX East, everybody. It's been officially confirmed that the What's Good Games live panel is back at PAX East in Boston.
It's gonna be so cold.
It is. We're not going to announce timing of the panel yet because they're still locking in all of the times. They're still subject to change for like the next a week or so.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But once we do have it locked in, I mean, like it's rare that they change, but I have been subject to panels moving theaters and moving time slots and days before. So, but we are going to be at PAX. We will be doing a meet and greet. Right now, we're targeting around happy hour time on Friday, February 28th for the What's Good Games meetup. You do not need a PAX badge to attend the meetup. And then we will, let you guys know where that is and where the panel is, but we hope to see you there. It's going to be great. And if all things go according to plan, we'll be selling an exclusive What's Good Games PAX East pin.
But put a pin in that because we're not sure.
That was
yet.
good, Steimer. That was good.
I see what you did there.
Aha.
So mark your calendars. I do believe some tickets are still available, so maybe you want to check that out.
It's cold there.
Thank you to this month's Patreon
Nobody
producers.
wants to be cold there.
That's true. Chewy's Godson, Alex Rigopulos, Faris Attieh, Mohammed Mohammed, Marcus Brandt, and Robert Adams. And welcome to our Patreon community. Britt, can you read this list for me?
I can. James, Rob McCann, Dalibor Demovsky, Unbreakable Tom, Fernando Macedo, Benjamin Kitcherside, Flying Cosmo, Jeffrey Stemmen, Matt Johns, Marie Otter, James Dashneer, Alec Bobko, Alexandre David, Mr. Trigglesworth, Mindy Tang, Ashley, Elliot Minor, Bang Zoom Pow,
Nice.
Pepper Oni, and Joshua Trim.
Pepper Oni. I like
That's
it.
a good name.
Thank you so much to everybody for supporting us at patreon.com/whatsgoodgames. It's because of your support that we're able to have the new studio that we're recording in, that we're able to go to shows to meet you guys and do community events. And we're so excited that so many of you have joined us, and we've got lots of fun things in store for 2020. So hopefully you enjoy the content that we're bringing to your eyeballs.
Eyeballs and
mostly-
ear
I
holes,
was
and
like,
also
mostly
thank you,
ears hole-
Sasha
ears.
McMurray and J Bob for reviewing us on iTunes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Those
yes.
people.
Those chart numbers really make a difference for us, you guys. So it's so important. I know we've been saying this every week, but if you cannot support the show financially, we would 100% understand. We would love if you could support us with a little bit of your time by going to your favorite podcast service and leaving us a 5-star review with a couple words about how you like listening to the show or what you love about it. That'd be great. That would make us feel real nice. All right, so this week is a little bit light on news, but we got
a few zingers in there.
yeah, some spicy ones. So might not be a lot in quantity, but makes up for it in quality, I would say. So let's get into the news. And this is where I tell you that the news this week is brought to you by Bombas. Working out is hard. Listen, you guys, it's always been hard. Like, there's no denying that. Even when it's easy, it's still pretty hard to work out. Bombas socks, though, can't change that. We're not here to tell you that they can. Spoilers, they can't make working out easier, but they can definitely make it more comfortable. So if your resolution is to get fit this year, start by getting socks that can keep up every step of the way. So all three of us have been wearing different kinds of Bombas for a couple of months now. And Steimer, you were saying you have one of their athletic socks and you like working out because it's got the little, what do you call that thing on the back?
Like a little tabby.
Like a tab on the back of the sock?
But not only that, I do think that they are an appropriate level of thickness, which sounds stupid maybe, but it's sort of like Goldilocks, like, right? So I've had socks that are just a little too thick and you feel like you're wearing winter socks to the gym, which is a little odd. And then you have the too thin socks, which are slippery and they make your athletic shoes slippery. And then you feel like your foot's sliding around those shoes, even if they're the correct size. It doesn't make, it's not good. No bueno. But Bombas do not do that for me. They're like thick enough where your foot feels supported, but then thin enough where you don't feel like you're going to sweat just because you're in a thick sock.
Listen, sock thickness is the thing that you didn't know you needed in your life.
It's true.
Now, we all do a lot of different things to stay active, and so Bombas has made a lot of different kinds of performance socks, designed for everything from running to hiking to cycling and more. Now, whether you're very into sports or planning on getting very into sports, listen, we've all got our own resolutions. Bombas can help with performance socks and styles made specially for basketball, tennis, running, golf, and more. Plus, they're made with a lightweight polycotton blend, which means no matter how hard you're working, your feet will stay cool, dry, and comfortable, never sweaty. Bombas socks provide support in places you didn't even know you needed, like your arches. Each sock is built with a special arch support system that's supportive but not too tight, like a nice hug, but on your foot. A foot hug.
Foot hugs are great.
Constantly pausing your treadmill to adjust twisted, bunched-up socks is enough to make anyone ready to quit, and that's why Bombas are designed with left-right contouring and a Y-stitched heel so they stay perfectly in place. So no more excuses. Ever notice that annoying toe seam that most socks have? That little ridge across the top? You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Well, Bombas said, get out of here. We don't want you. Gone. Gone. That's the word. Donezo. It's
so
just
very
gone.
aggressive.
I know. I just hate those seams. They really
Grind your gears.
They really grind my gears. Exactly. You guys, it's just smooth sailing all the way across the top of your foot. Now, did you know that the socks are the #1 most requested item in homeless shelters? Bombas socks were created to change that. For every pair that you buy, Bombas donates a pair to someone in need. So not only do your feet get to feel good and have hugs, but other people's feet that are in need also get to feel good and have hugs.
Hugs all around.
To make sure everyone's feet gets a hug, you got to go to bombus.com/what's-good today and get 20% off your first purchase. That is an awesome deal at bombas.com/what's-good for 20% off. bombus.com/what's-good. Their no-show socks are my personal favorite. Just wanted to add that in there. Okay. Brittany, will you please kick off the news?
Oh my God, PlayStation will not participate in E3 2020.
You can't sit with us! You can't sit with us!
No, this comes from GameIndustry.biz, who got a hell of a scoop, so props to them. So, I'm going to move your pretty faces off my computer so I can see the document. PlayStation will miss E3 for a second year in a row. The firm told GameIndustry.biz that it does not feel the vision for the event is right for what it has planned for this year. Instead, it will attend hundreds of consumer events to showcase upcoming games for PS4 and PS5. Quote, after thorough evaluation, SIE has decided not to participate in E3 2020, said a Sony Interactive Entertainment spokesperson. We have great respect for the ESA as an organization, but we do not feel the vision of E3 2020 is the right venue for what we were focused on this year. Quote, we will build upon our global event strategy in 2020 by participating in hundreds of consumer events across the globe. Our focus is on making sure fans feel part of the PlayStation family and have access to play their favorite content. We have a fantastic lineup of titles coming to PlayStation 4, and with the upcoming launch of PlayStation 5, we are truly looking forward to a year of celebration with our fans. PlayStation has used E3 as the place to unveil details of its next console since the very beginning, attending the first E3 in 1995 to detail the US launch of the original PlayStation. The company's success at E3 2013 was viewed as a major moment in the build-up to PS4, which resulted in Sony reclaiming its market leadership from Xbox. However, E3 organizer, the ESA, has struggled to satisfy all of its members who have been split over what they want the show to be. Some publishers, such as EA and Sony, want to see E3 become a fan celebration of games, whereas others would rather the event remain an industry-focused affair. The ESA has tried to satisfy both groups. Wait, did I just read that? No, did not. We'll just skip that last sentence anyway. It's reductive. All right, and then real quick, after this went live, the ESA released a statement called ESA Statement on Sony E3 2020 Announcement. And this
so
is back from their actual
titled.
website. E3 is a okay, I'm not going to read it.
Yeah, don't read it like that. Yeah.
E3 is a signature event celebrating the video game industry and showcasing the people, brands, and innovations redefining entertainment loved by billions of people around the world. E3 2020 will be an exciting, high-energy show featuring new experiences, partners, exhibitor spaces, activations, and programming that will entertain new and veteran attendees alike. Exhibitor interest in our new activations is gaining the attention of brands that view E3 as a key opportunity to connect with video game fans worldwide. And then one more piece of this, then we can talk about it. Phil Spencer does a tweet. Our team is hard at work on E3. We look forward to sharing with all who love to play what's ahead for us. Wait, did I fuck that up? We look forward to sharing with all who love to play what's ahead for us.
So he grammatically phrased that wrong. I think what he means to say, we look forward to sharing what's ahead for us with all who love to play.
You know what? You can't edit tweets, everybody.
You read these stories and you're like, huh? Our art firm has consistently been propelled by the cross-section of creativity and technical progress. 2020 is a milestone year in that journey for Team Xbox. Hashtag Xbox E3. Hashtag E3 2020.
Well, there's no reason for Xbox to leave E3 now that PlayStation's not there, because then they're the big dog of the show. They're like, thank you kindly for bowing out. It means that it's like your rival at the party leaves and then you're like the belle of the ball. It's great.
Well, and they had been waiting for several years after the Microsoft Theater opened to get that space back. So I had this conversation with some people from the Xbox team last year about, why such a heavy presence outside of the convention. They had the Mixer Dome in Chickern Court. They had the Microsoft Theater where they were doing showcases. You had to go through a whole separate security line, get a separate badge. And it seemed like it would be an inconvenience for a lot of people who buy like a gamer badge to E3 to go over there to see games. But of course, their name is right on the theater. But the reason why they didn't do it sooner is because apparently the Microsoft Theater was booked out so many years in advance during the week of E3 that even Microsoft's own Xbox division couldn't override that it was booked out. And so now
they're like, but we are the Microsoft.
We are.
So now they have opportunity. And so I imagine from here on out, even though Xbox will be at E3, like air
quote
quotes.
Unquote, yeah, it'll be in their own space.
Yeah, they will continue to be outside the actual convention
together,
center.
But separately.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Steimer's motto for life.
Yeah, it really truly is.
So this actually, I mean, part of me is like, of course, we could have predicted based off how they responded last year to withdrawing that they weren't going to. But I think a lot of us were holding out hope that was like a one-time thing where they were just trying to save some money by not paying the crazy fees to the unions to be on the show floor, and that, they've got PS5 coming. They have to be at the biggest consumer video game show in the world. Like, why wouldn't they? And like, this to me is actually quite shocking, and I honestly think that this is a bad move. So I did some quick math while you were reading, Brittany. To be at hundreds, let's just call it 100, just an even 100 events throughout the year, they would have to be going to 2 consumer events a week from now until the end of the year to hit just 100. And then that wouldn't even get them there. They would have to technically be doing a little bit more than that to actually get there.
My assumption is that's just PR fluff, and what they'll probably do is have little kiosks set up throughout some stores or something, right?
They're like, we're in this grocery store. It's an event.
Because I saw that number too, and I was like, okay, wait. There's 52 weeks a year.
Right.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, that's my guess is that's what's going to happen.
One of the weirdest things I saw on my 3 weeks of travel was we were in, which airport was this? I want to say it was Milan. Or it's like, maybe it was on the way to Milan. There was like this random PlayStation kiosk in the middle of the airport. like in a terminal that was downstairs by like one of those terminals where you have to take a bus to like get to the plane. And Jackie and I were just like, is this really a PlayStation terminal? Like, they just had a marketing kiosk in a terminal that you would never find. So maybe that's what they mean by hundreds of consumer events.
Check out the PS5.
If that's what they mean, that's crazy, because the whole reason you do tentpole events like E3 is because you have a highly trained force of media and influencers and content creators who understand the space that can accurately communicate the technology to their fan base. If you just have a kiosk, first off, they're never going to put their brand new tech inside a kiosk where it can get stolen, right? They also can't afford to make prototypes or demo builds for hundreds of kiosks around the world. But also, like, I think that they're missing the kind of pomp and circumstance that they really capitalized on at E3 for decades. Like, I just kind of scratch my head and go, what the heck is going on at PlayStation?
I think that this means that they saw not attending E3 last year really didn't hurt them very badly. And I know that this is a big year in terms of like PS5 coming out, but I think what they'll do is combine sort of what they did last year when they had their own reveal event for the console itself, and maybe mix in a little of that old PSX action and make something that feels more fan-centric versus E3, which I do think right now is kind of in a weird identity crisis, and it's trying to be the best of both worlds and kind of failing at both. It needs to pick a lane.
Pick a lane, Karen.
Pick a lane and go for it and do that thing well. But when you try to do both things at once, you're usually not going to succeed. But so I'm curious to see what event they will come up with themselves. And I'm excited to see it. And I do think that this is great news for Phil Spencer and his team. It's not like PlayStation 5 won't be anywhere at this conference, because third parties will probably cover them to a certain extent. And maybe that's kind of what they're banking on in terms of getting any fan crossover there. It's just like, well, EA or whatever, like our other partners will have stuff there. Yeah. It'll help. So it's not like if you are a PlayStation fan going to E3, there's absolutely nothing for you. But they themselves are probably going to, I don't know what they're going to do, but I think it'll be, I think we may see that Zambi PSX rise up.
Zambi. I would love that. Yeah. As a fan, it's disappointing. I tweeted about this back in the day. I know you ladies remember this, when you would have all of the press conferences, you'd have Nintendos, then you'd have PlayStations, and that was kind of the conference to kind of end off everything. They'd have the big pre-parties, and those were always so much fun. And
back when people just blew marketing budgets for no reason.
I know.
No one was looking at ROI. They were just like, this is fun. And I'm the marketing director, and I want to have fun. Let's throw a party.
It was so fun.
Yeah, but PlayStation has been the most profitable division of Sony Global for a long time. And like
that doesn't mean that E3's not like E3 is an expensive show.
No, but like I'm not saying it's not expensive, but I'm saying the spend is justified because they make it back, right? And
except can you imagine though if you're cutting back on those costs and still making the same amount of money? Why would you start spending that again?
No, and I think that's what's troublesome about it is because it's not a straight one-to-one comparison. Like I think there's absolutely an argument to be made that this is not going to hurt Sony, that Sony will walk on and be fine because they had such a successful generation with the PlayStation 4 that they can skip E3 and the marketing train that is E3 and be fine. But it sets a really scary precedence that a lot of other people on social media and stuff that are commenting on, not the precedence, but like this idea that does this make the ESA and E3 irrelevant if Sony can say, we don't need you, we can do this all on our own. And I say, no, it doesn't, because there are literally hundreds of other publishers that need the marketing behemoth that is E3.
Yeah, not most of those companies don't have the capabilities that, honestly, Xbox could leave too if they really wanted to, but I don't think it makes sense for them now that PlayStation's gone.
No.
But most companies don't have the ability to do what PlayStation now is comfortable doing, right? They, granted, to varying degrees of success, have thrown their own convention a few years in a row. They kind of would know how to do it this time, and I think this makes sense for them to do, quite honestly. Like, if you're going to spend that kind of money, you may as well do it where you personally, like you as the company, can recoup the cost by selling your own tickets, and then also making it look like you are just the best friend in the world to your fans, right? Like, you're like, don't you want to come see all this stuff? We're going to show you first, personally, right? Like, you, PlayStation fan, we're talking to you. We're not talking to the press, who like always get wined and dined. And yes, it's been very nice, I have to say.
It's been great.
I'm going to miss those days. They were really, but I had my heyday. It's fine. I'm old now. We're good. But like, I can definitely see this absolutely 100% working for them. And doing really well for them. Again, if they're doing what I think they're going to do in my head. I have no idea if they actually are.
It's interesting that you say that, because when I think about influencer and fan programs, I just think Xbox has been crushing it in that department. I think even if you look at the press conferences from when Sony was at E3, Xbox was the first to say, we're going to front load our press conference with fans in the first like 25 rows or whatever. These are like Xbox ambassadors and people who have been,
the ambassador program,
representing the brand and like love the brand and want to be part of the Xbox community. Whereas Sony, I think, has kind of been in their walled garden for a while. And
absolutely.
And I don't know if that's going to change. And I think that honestly, it fundamentally has to do with the company that's being run out of Japan versus a company that's being run out of Redmond. So I think that just philosophically, they run their businesses very differently. And it will be interesting
someone who
to
has
see.
worked, well, tangentially for Microsoft, very directly for PlayStation, can confirm, run very differently.
As anybody who's worked at both companies will say, it'll be interesting to watch. And I know we say that a lot on the show, like, guess we'll have to wait and see. But I mean, I'm skeptical.
I mean, our crystal balls stopped working a long time ago. We can only make an educated guess.
I'm just disappointed more than anything.
And that's what I was saying earlier, is I'm just disappointed as a fan, but like you both covered everything that I wanted to say. Yeah, what's the point of it? I mean, there are companies out there that do need E3 because it is like a super duper hype moment, but Sony is in a position where they can do their own thing. And like Steimer said, why put money into something, if you don't need to?
I mean, that's the reason why Nintendo completely stopped their press conferences, right? Like, why am I spending $1 million funding a press conference when I can probably pay, less than $100,000 and make this video that is doing the exact same thing?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And they can do that. They ain't scared. And like you said, it's great for Microsoft. Kind of works out for both parties. Good job, friends. The other thing that I saw people bringing up was that in E3 2013, Sony did a reveal event, and then they also went to E3. And so that's like the main counter I've seen as to, well, Sony, they did this back in 2013, but again, I think that was a different time. I think,
well, that's what I was saying. I was saying how they did their own reveal event, and then, I can't remember, it wasn't that year, but whenever you're like a year or two later when they did PSX, that's what I think what they're probably going to do is some sort of combine the forces and have it be like a reveal event, but also sort of a PlayStation experience where it's mostly or they say it's fan driven. They will obviously invite press, but try and make it feel to average Joe Schmo like, oh my God, PlayStation loves me and wants me to see this first.
Well, I mean, they did a really successful job with that with PSX in the past, and I loved going to PSX. The first and second years of PSX, the press conferences they did, like the media conference, was amazing. They were phenomenal. The last year of PSX was kind of like borked, right? Like
I think that's part of why they ended up killing it, right? They were like, oh my God, it's really hard to try and pull off 2 major press conferences a year where you have this many hype announcements because you have to all the fucking deals you have to try and sign to make those things happen. Woo! So I don't blame them for cutting that off. I think it's smart. I think that's part of why I'm inclined to say if they're canceling E3, that means they have something else up their sleeve. It's going to be more PSX, and it's going to be more PSX of old, like the very, very hype, 1 to 2 years, like where they were announcing really cool things and people were just freaking out. And it was sort of that original energy you got from an E3 press conference that is still fairly much there, but dwindles a little bit every year, I think.
Of course, yeah. And Sony's, they know what they're doing. There's a reason they're top dog right now. They're not gonna just let Microsoft make their announcement at E3,
sometimes
right?
they whiff it
and not have a rebuttal, right? They're gonna have events planned throughout the year. They know what they're doing. That's why I'm inclined to believe you too, Steimer, is that they're gonna have some fun events going on. Jason Schreier tweeted out something when this broke soon after. He said, one juicy tidbit I heard last year was that Sony's main reason for skipping E3 was disagreement, tension, conflict with the ESA, which is likely the driving factor here as well. And as a little refresher, I think this was back in September, our friends at GameDaily.biz, the ESA, it was a leaked E3 deck, right, of that new direction they're going in. It was a pitch deck. And this is a little brief reminder of what E3 2020 might look like. They want to tap into influencers and paid celebrity deals, like having the LA Lakers play basketball
I remember
game.
This, yeah.
Oh,
yep.
Yeah.
They want to have 8 experience hubs spread throughout the traditional booths. They want to create, quote, exclusive appointment-only activations for select attendees who will create buzz and FOMO. ESA approved increasing the amount of gamer badges by 10,000, which will bring the amount of consumers to 25,000. There was the possibility of an industry-only day on Tuesday, digital lines, and then Qtainment. And then there was the idea of E3 digital game ticket, which will basically give people, if it worked in their own perfect world, access to game demos.
The behind closed doors demos. That to me is the smartest thing of that whole deck. The industry only day and the digital ticket to allow people to watch the presentations. Honestly, it might be a deterrent for some people because they're like, well, why would I even buy a ticket when I can just watch all the demos from home? But I guess the idea is that you watch the demo and you get to play the game if you're on the show floor, and you don't get to play it if you're at home. But I mean,
also, not everyone can afford to travel, but if it's a $15 ticket.
Well, how much isn't the Blizzard digital ticket more, like $50?
I was about to say it's probably actually more like 50, 60.
Yeah, so I think
the
E3
one is.
I think.
Oh no, sorry, you're talking about digital tickets.
Digital tickets. Passes. No, the gamer passes are like $250 or something crazy.
Yeah, something crazy
for all 3 days. I don't know if they sell. Do they sell individual days?
I don't know.
No idea.
No clue.
This is an easily searchable thing, but we're not here to talk about
the Google
tickets.
machine can tell you.
Yes. I think we've gone around the horn on this topic.
Set our piece.
Quite a bit. There will be more to say because E3 is just 5 months away. 4 months? 4 months.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
That's not correct.
To February, March, April, May, June.
4.5.
Yeah.
Less than 5 months away.
My birthday's in 4 months.
It's true.
Hey.
Brittany's birthday's in 4 months too.
Yeah.
Hey.
All right. Steimer, you want to read this one?
Sure. Slide it on over. All right.
So Brittany can dance or do whatever she wants to do.
Okay.
Brittany, I'm not happy about this.
This is this is gonna be a sad dance.
Oh yeah, that's right.
What's it's like the rain dance or whatever. I don't know, something where it's not a happy dance, but you need it. Okay. Final Fantasy VII Remake and Marvel's event. This says Adventures, which is hilarious.
Oh yeah, it's supposed to be Avengers.
Avengers have been delayed. So this is a message from the Final Fantasy VII Remake development team from SquareEnixGames.com. Square-Enix-Games.com.
Come on, Steimer, get it right.
Below is a message from the development team. We know that so many of you are looking forward to the release of Final Fantasy VII Remake. So, no, I'm just kidding. I was going to go off script, but I should actually just read it verbatim. And have been waiting patiently to experience what we have been working on. In order to ensure we deliver a game that is in line with our vision and the quality that our fans who have been waiting for deserve, we've decided to move the release date to April 10th, 2020. We are making this tough decision in order to give ourselves a few extra weeks to apply final polish to the game and to deliver you with the best possible experience. I, on behalf of the whole team, want to apologize to everyone as I know this means waiting for the game just a little bit longer. Thank you for your patience and continued support. Yoshinori Kitase, producer of Final Fantasy VII Remake. So, yep, it is now April 10th, 2020. I love that it's the year 2020 just because I could.
It's kind of
fun,
right?
This is Barbara Walters for 2020.
Oh.
But sorry.
Why, you weren't a Barbara Walters watcher?
She was definitely.
No, I was, but I was. It's kind of fun.
I don't think you ever watched Barbara Walters. I don't
2020.
believe
It's cool. But then she dropped her adult knowledge on me. All right.
All right, and now for the other sad squirrel of the day, Marvel Avengers also got an update to our fans. Wait, what? All right. It's a
blog post.
It's a blog post. Got it. I was like, the way this is formatted is slightly odd. At Crystal Dynamics, our ambition has always been to deliver the ultimate Avengers gaming experience. In order to achieve that goal, we have made the difficult decision to move the release date of Marvel's Avengers to September 4th, 2020. As fans ourselves, it's an honor and a privilege to work with these legendary characters, and we know what these superheroes mean to us and true believers around the world. Wow, true believers is capitalized. Is that really, do people call themselves that?
Yeah, that's a thing.
Didn't know that. Today I learned. When we set out to bring you our vision for Marvel's Avengers, we committed to delivering an original story-driven campaign, engaging co-op, and compelling content for years to come. To that end, we will spend this additional development time focusing on fine-tuning and polishing the game to the high standards our fans expect and deserve. These messages sound very similar. The worldwide teams working on Marvel's Avengers sincerely appreciate the support you've shown us. We thrive on your enthusiasm and feedback, and we cannot wait to show you more. We apologize for the delay. We're confident it will be worth the wait. And that is from Scott Amos and Ron Rosenberg, co-heads of the studio Crystal Dynamics. So that's a little bit of a sad trombone, but also yes and no, because it's always, I'm fine, right? If you need the time, take the time. It's better than releasing something that you as if you're putting your art out into the world, you kind of want to feel like it's in a good place before people get their hands on it. Right. So I'm glad that both the publishing teams, Square, I guess, because it's both of them, is comfortable enough to allow them to have that extra time, right? It's okay, we know we said this one thing, and we gotta do the video game trope now. Just go ahead and delay it.
No strangers to the delays.
No, we are
video
not.
Games.
We will be here for you whenever you come.
The interesting part about the delay of Final Fantasy VII is that now it was going to release in Square's final fiscal quarter of the year. So it's just kind of like an extra little interesting thing. It was going to release, so I'm sure, their projections and stuff are not going to be way off because this game is not going to make that fiscal year. So it's kind of like, okay, but, good for you for still postponing it. Fuck the investors. Just give us a good game.
I mean, they'll still, it's just moved from one quarter to another. But yeah, I mean, that's what a lot of video games they'll try to do. They're always like, how can we squeeze this in to make it to be the last fiscal year of whatever year we need it to be? That's why a lot of the March, April dates, very finessed.
Yeah, and then you look at April 2020 and you're like, oh my god, we got RE3 Nemesis on the 3rd, Final Fantasy VII on the 10th, Cyberpunk on the 16th. I'm excited for Trials of Mana on the 24th, but I have a feeling that game won't be touched till the next decade anyway.
Yeah, that poor game is...
I'm so sorry for you.
Into a very bad
I think
landscape.
When you look at both of these delays, the delay for a little extra polish, sure. I think that's smart. You don't want to launch a broken game that's buggy. And if you just need a couple of weeks, bite the bullet, make the call. The more troublesome delay is Marvel's Avengers, because as you recall, this is already an additional delay. It was supposed to come out this year in 2019, and then they pushed to May 2020, and now they're in September. But honestly, it was smart of them to get out of May and get out of that kind of black hole of all of these other AAAs that are coming out in that time zone, especially with Last of Us.
Not only that, but as we have often mentioned on the show, people forget about games from the first half of the year. So bumping them down there, if it turns out well, gives them a much greater chance for end of year nominations.
And it sets them up to be able to be, on the new generation of consoles if they're going to make it cross-gen, which I have to imagine they're going to.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I think that's actually better for them. I mean, you have to assume that almost every AAA that's coming out this year is going to be cross-gen, but we've heard very specific, like, this game is for PlayStation 4, this game is for Xbox One.
You know, I would love to see, because the one thing I never really got a lot of experience with firsthand is picking release windows. And I just want to be like, can you not, I mean, how much do you pad it, right? Like, I want to know, when they picked the first date, were they like, yeah, this is, how much padding did they think that they had back then? That's what I want to know, right? You know?
See
where I'm going?
This is why we need to get our friend Gio Corsi back on the show.
Yeah.
I think he could tell some things. Also, big congratulations to Gio on his big announcement this week. He is the chief product officer at IllFonic. They, of course, are going to be publishing Predator very shortly. I'm excited to play that game. I actually had him in the studio, just as a quick aside, when we first opened it. And we shot something, but it was rife with technical problems because, you know,
it was the first.
It was the first recording. And I managed to fix the audio. The video is just, it's borked. So we might release that on Patreon as like a lost episode of me and Gio. But I called him and said, hey, Gio, can you come back down? I want you two to be here. And he was like, of course, whenever we can make it work, sounds great. So, but we just want to give Gio a big shout out and congratulations. Very happy that you're over at IllFonic. That's a great team of folks. And the microphone is waiting for you, Gio.
Oh.
Come back and visit.
Come back and say hi. That's interesting thought, though, Steimer. It makes you think about Final Fantasy VII. Like, they gave themselves to the very end to make the fiscal quarter, right? And now that it's being delayed by a month, they're not going to make it. It's like, well, maybe more padding.
Yeah.
Would have been great. Some little, like, cushion, maybe a couple pillows on either side of that project.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
or, yeah, because the one option is, like, they don't pad it enough. And they're like, ooh, whoops-a-daisy. And the other option is, like, that they just hit so many bugs or so many issues during development that the padding that they thought they had, like, went out the window immediately. And so I'm sure both teams, it's different circumstances, but I'm always curious, Kat.
This is what's so interesting to me. Not only on one hand, looking at it through the lens of entertainment and looking at the different mediums within it and how different it is from like a television or feature film release, where they very often don't have, you know, these kind of catastrophic problems and then they have to delay. To this day, I can't recall ever hearing a movie change their release date because of technical problems.
Sonic had to redesign.
Well, that was more of a fan outcry.
I mean, it's sort of a technical problem. Look at his face.
It would have been, I would say that would have been more than a technical problem.
I think the thing with Cats was like the only time I've ever heard of a movie getting patched.
Yes, that was hilarious. I was like, oh my God.
Wait, they patched it?
They set out a new version of the movie because the original, the CGI was so bad. Like, their faces were sliding around.
Turns out, the version I saw, I couldn't tell if it was new or not. If it was
new. That was the new version.
It was still bad. There were still a lot.
Apparently it was way worse because I talked to Carboni about this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he was like, they were way slidier, like within the. So the Cats movie, they have like the ears and the weird head bit, and then they just superimpose their face on it. And their face sometimes just goes where it shouldn't be. It's just,
well, that's what happens when you don't
it's a little slippery
when
in
you
there.
don't have actors in bodysuits, right? Like, you get this weird CG uncanny valley that's happening.
Yeah, apparently they didn't mocap it properly or at all, possibly. I'm not sure which because I did not work on the production. $100 million
apparently not enough to do.
They were like, we'll
mocap.
hand animate this. I'm like, why? Why would you do that to those poor animators?
Sounds like a bad idea. But the thing I was going to mention, because we were talking.
You don't want to turn this into a Cats podcast?
No, I don't.
I'm very curious, Kat.
I was talking about delaying a release date. I said on one hand, looking at it through the lens of entertainment, and then the other hand, the point I was going to make was, I think what's interesting is where these release dates and slippages are going to go in the wake of technology that's going to make publishing faster than ever. So I think about that in the terms of Google Stadia and everything that they are promising for developers on the back end. This idea that a developer like Square Enix can take their build of Final Fantasy VII Remake and be tinkering and fixing and polishing up until the last, like, what I would say 72 hours before launch, hypothetically, if they're not concerned about review copies. And they can, like, push the build to the Stadia servers because they don't have to ship a disc and then they can keep working, and then maybe that would give them a couple of extra weeks they need without having to worry about going through certification, which is the time that they have to pad in, right?
Yeah.
So, because certification generally takes, 4 to 5 weeks?
Yep. A little over a month.
And so, like, that right there, if they didn't have to go through the certification process, maybe they could have maintained their original release date.
Yeah, but then, there's lots of people who wouldn't be buying this game.
No, I know. And that's the thing. That's the thing I think is interesting, starting with this generation going forward. Of like, wouldn't it be awesome to relieve some pressure from development teams, knowing that they don't have to worry about the certification window, that they can keep working for those couple of weeks up until launch, and then they can maintain, and we won't have to see these constant slippages. It's like it's almost like expected at this point for a game to slip.
Yeah,
that's
a wild world to live in.
I mean, it feels like anytime anyone announces a release date, I always look at that as the first draft. Just like, sure,
it's true. Yeah,
you go ahead, say it's then. If it makes you sleep at night, you go right ahead. And I always know it's going to change at least once if it's AAA, and possibly twice, unless it's doing the old Fallout maneuver, which was like, well, this game is basically done, so yeah, it's gonna be this date. We just announced it super late. So I think it just depends on the publisher and what they're. I think it's dangerous to announce your game too early at this point, because you just do see this. You see this a lot. This is a lot of we announced this game entirely too early. And we just have literally no idea when it's going to be done, because that's how game development works. It is just a crapshoot.
That's the route RE3 went, that it's almost done. It's like 90% done, and they just announced it, last month?
Yep.
Because a lot of people are like, oh my God, it's going to be delayed now. But they've said it's 90% done. There's no way it's delayed. Thank you.
Thank you and good night. Yeah, no, I mean, those are the two routes that a game goes, really, is either it's announced at the point where the dev team really couldn't tell you when it could come out, or the game is basically done and we've announced it and now we absolutely know and it's going to be this date.
Word.
Pardon me, I cough.
Yes.
Brittany.
Yes.
Would you like to read the next story?
Yes. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. So, Super Nintendo World to focus on interactive experiences. This comes from GameMinistry.biz. Universal Studios has come forward with more details about the Super Nintendo World area opening up at its Osaka theme park this summer, saying the park will focus on physical interactive experiences. Super Nintendo World will include rides, shops, a restaurant, singular restaurant.
Just one restaurant. The
this is like the beginning of when you build like Roller Coaster Tycoon. You're like I can afford one restaurant here.
Yeah. It's a 4-hour wait to get a hot dog.
Yeah.
And interactive gameplay, all themed around Nintendo properties, particularly Mario. Attendees will receive a wristband that, combined with a phone app, will allow them to collect coins and character stamps as they travel throughout the park. In addition, the wristband and app can be used to complete key challenges that will lead to working together with other attendees in boss battles. Further details about these experiences were not given. Quote, think of Super Nintendo World as a life-size, living video game where you become one of the characters, said Universal Creative CCO Theory Coop. Quote, you're not just playing the game, you're living the game, you're living an adventure. I feel like we need dramatic music playing right now. Nintendo's most iconic locations and experiences will be brought to life, including Mushroom Kingdom, Peach's Castle, an incredible Mario Kart ride, Bowser's Castle, and more.
I feel like that person's name is Terry, by the way.
Terry Koo, yeah.
Terry. I was like, Theory? I've never seen
that's
Terry.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's Terry.
Spelled with a T. All right. Super Nintendo World is planned to open in the Osaka Universal Studios location in time for the summer 2020 Olympics. The Singapore and both United States Universal Studios parks are planning to follow suit with their own Super Nintendo Worlds in the future.
Neat. When are we going to Osaka?
Dude, I know.
I'm in.
Now,
once it opens.
Yeah.
We gotta let the crowds die down for the first couple of months, and then we can go.
Well, actually, that works if we wanted to like do TGS this year, because then we do TGS and we can go to Osaka after.
Right?
I would shit my pants with excitement. Andrea, I feel like it was an episode, maybe some of you were on this, but I feel like it was just Andrea and I when we talked about this, and there was like 1 or 2 rides that are confirmed.
Yeah, no, I remember this. Yeah, I remember.
Were you on? Okay.
I was definitely on it because I remember when we read them, and I was like, seems like you may need more than this.
A restaurant.
A restaurant. It's 2 rides that sound like real rides.
Yeah, I think this is really cool. I saw a video of someone using the wristband. So they have 6 different wristbands. I think it's Mario, Luigi, Toad, Peach, Daisy, and maybe one more. I'm not sure.
They're like the Disney magic bands.
Yeah, and you wear it and you use your app and you do things with it. There's question blocks, and they had members of the press just like jumping up and like hitting it with their hand, and then it would like sync something. And I just thought that was so cool. But then I'm also thinking to myself, you have to like literally punch it. That's not going to end well, because you're going to get some dummy who just hits it so hard and breaks their hand. And then
I'm assuming it's made of foam.
Probably made of foam. I don't care. Someone's going to hurt themselves somehow.
I mean, it's a theme park.
I mean,
of
they'll
course
probably
someone is gonna hurt themselves.
The only way they would hurt themselves is if they like slip on the descent, which they definitely could.
On their way down.
They're just like, I twisted my ankle. Oh, I'm really shitty at Mario.
Also, I don't know who it was, but it was someone in charge of the Super Nintendo Land said that other properties or other IPs are being considered. So it's not just probably going to be a Mario thing.
How are they not going to do like a fucking Zelda maze or something? Like a Zelda ride.
What if it was a corn maze?
A Zelda corn maze?
Take a little sword and just whack down bits, like just cut the grass.
That'd be cool, and like money pops out.
No, don't give people swords.
But I want them.
It would be fun if they did like a. What if they did like a? Excuse me. Is it called the Forbidden Forest?
Oh, the Lost Woods.
That
would be cool. Yeah, like a maze.
Do like a Lost Woods maze where you go and you find like kokorus or whatever. Kokorus, right? What are they called?
What are called?
The little dudes that give you the Korok seeds.
Aren't they just called Koroks?
Maybe. I asked you. You're the Zelda expert.
Breath of the Wild, man.
She didn't like Breath of the Wild.
It literally could be any creatures from
Koroks.
the Zelda universe, but like I think doing something like that and bringing in Breath of the Wild, because it is on Nintendo Switch, which is their console that they're pushing right now, I think would make sense. Obviously, they're going to make this Mario focus because he's their number one poster boy. But
True.
I think leaving Super Smash Brothers out is a mistake. I think leaving Pokemon out is a giant mistake. I think leaving Legend of Zelda out is also a mistake.
They have
Zelda out,
they have a lot of Pokemon things in Japan.
Can you imagine Smash Brothers giving everyone those big like suits, those big suits?
What if it's like a sumo? What if it's a sumo suit?
Yeah.
Or it'd be like a whack-a-mole.
So good. Oh my god, that would be so good. I think this is really cool. When I was in 6th grade, I made a report called Video Game Land because I wanted a video game theme park. So it's kind of cool that we're getting something like that now that I'm 20 years older. Rip.
You're 20?
Yeah.
You're so young still.
Young.
Little baby Brittany, just 20 years old.
I wish I was only 20 years old.
I do and I don't.
Same.
But I would love to go to this.
We should
physically cool, mentally no.
No, listen, we'll put it in the calendar as like if we can afford it, we should go. #content.
#patreon.com/whatsgoodgames.
Do you want to see us like making weird videos in Japan? If you do, there you go.
I wonder if they let you dress up in this park, because like Disney, you can't fully dress up, right? Like you can Disney bound, which is like you can lightly be in the same colors, but you couldn't go unless you're like 3 in a full
Universal has a dress code
on a gown, because they don't want you being confused with one of their actual
characters. Cast members. Yeah.
So I'm curious if Super Nintendo World will have those rules yet, or if they're like, yeah, sure, your show was Peach.
If you were gonna go bound to the Nintendo World, which character would you bound as? Steimer.
I mean, I guess Daisy looks like me, aka she's just brunette.
Steimer.
I mean, like, I don't know what else to say.
You could bound as literally anybody or anything.
Who's the girl that sings in Odyssey? Pauline?
No,
is that her name?
No, Pauline's the original. Is the
But
original.
isn't she? She's in because she sings. And
maybe. Hold on. Let me look.
She's the.
I would go as a Goron.
Pauline.
There she is. Yeah,
I would be Pauline,
but
because she looks like Carmen Sandiego.
Yeah, but I would go as Pauline though.
Lamos.
We can both
Goron
be
is where
Pauline.
is that? You can roll around everywhere, do little somersaults.
No,
eat bombs.
I'd have to go as Peach. Like Peach is my thing. I know that I have red hair.
Peach can fly with her dress if you pick it up.
No, I love Peach. She's one of my faves.
Andrea, as a bit, can we put you on top of a roof and put a very put a very cushioned foam mat at the bottom, and then you can jump off and hold your skirt and try to fly.
Oh,
I'm into it. I'm down. If you can get the
really
budget to make all of these things happen, I will physically do it.
Okay, just make sure you have really good insurance. before we do this.
I mean, it would have to be like, so at
sure.
Comic-Con one year, they had the Assassin's Creed. Also, I love how we've just fucking gone off the rails. They had the Assassin's Creed Eagle Dive thing.
Oh, yeah, I did.
And I'm like,
it was
if
terrifying.
you could have done that, but in a peach dress.
That was fun.
But like,
yes,
I'm going to
everybody
repurpose
did that
this. And then I'd be like, nope, I can't fly. Shit.
Yeah, that was terrifying.
Gravity works.
The eagle thing.
Yeah.
I did it. I was scared.
That was fun.
I did
you got
not
to
do
go down
it.
a zip line with guns.
I did do the zip line. I've done zip line. I'm not a fan of just straight jumping off of things.
And there was that foam pit. I remember that. That was a good time.
Oh, man. Brand activations, everybody. It's what E3 2020 is only going to be about. All right. In case you missed it, there was a little Resident Evil 3 remake trailer that happened this week. Brittany, what happened in that trailer?
All right. I'm going to tell you a few things happened. But what stood out the most to me were these little... Okay, so RE2, when the remake came, this is called the Resident Evil Nemesis trailer, and it's about 2 minutes long. Resident Evil 2 Remake stuck pretty true to Resident Evil 2 in terms of story arcs, in terms of characters, where you meet people. But in seeing this trailer, a lot of people thought, oh, it's boring. It's like, oh no, if you know what you're looking for, it's actually very exciting. So this is where I'm going to go off and do my own nerd thing.
Go on with your bad self.
Do it.
Enjoy yourself. Okay, so you see Carlos meeting Jill, which looks like for the first time in this new trailer. And she's all beat up and whatnot. And she's like, hey, who are you? And he says, I'm Carlos. I'm here to save you. And they go on with their bad selves. Very different from the original one where she meets him in a kitchen/restaurant. And he's like, hey, don't freak out. I'm not a zombie. So we know that's going to be different. So
what I
why
would say
was she...
too.
What?
That's what I would say too.
I'm a zombie.
I'm not a zombie.
Yeah, don't say you're a zombie, Andrea. You will get shot and I'll be very sad.
Although zombies can't say anything.
It's true.
It depends on... Yeah, you're right. But then in the remake of RE2, Claire and Leon meet essentially the same way. So we know like they're definitely going off a little bit with the RE3 remake, and the team has said that they plan on making some things different. But it's kind of fun to see where they're doing that. The other thing is we see... well, these are just other notes. So Brad Vickers, we know his role is changing. We know Dario, whatever you want to call him, his role is changing because they have said as much. Dario's the guy in the very beginning of RE3 who's like, oh, my daughter and my wife are killed. Oh, no. And he locks himself in the back of a truck or in the back of like a cargo storage.
Okay.
And it's not good, and he dies, and you never see him again. But apparently he's going to have a bigger role in this game, which is interesting because he had just maybe 2 or 3 lines of dialogue in the first one. So what are you doing with him? What are you doing with Brad Vickers? Nemesis now has a flamethrower, which is absolutely terrifying. That's
just rude.
I know, it's very rude. He has a rocket launcher already, but now he gets a flamethrower.
So he gets up close.
Yeah, it's great. And
Burns
he's really
your ass.
fast. That bitch can move. Like, he is speedy guns.
He's a sprint runner is what you're saying.
He is, actually. You wouldn't think by looking at him, but he really is. And then we see a clip in the new trailer of the subway where you're talking to Mikhail, and you see a bunch of people on the subway. And in the original, it was just you and the team from Umbrella. So we know that they're expanding on the story there. There's a driving scene where Jill drives a car off a cliff, which looks like, and lands it on the Nemesis.
So like
that
Thelma and Louise style?
But you can't kill Nemesis, right?
You can.
Oh.
But if it's going to be anything like RE2, you can't actually kill Nemesis until a particular point in the game. Right? You can shoot off his fedora in RE2, Mr. X.
Oh, I did it. I got the achievement. Boom.
Yeah. But you can't
Trophy,
actually kill him, right? Until a certain part. Until the game's like, okay, go ahead.
I never made it.
So we'll
to
see
Mr.
what they
X.
do with this one. And then
best.
finally, Nemesis, the way he says stars in RE3 original, he says it like, it's very crisp. It's like stars, or all gravelly and shit. But in this one, it's more of a breathy sigh, and I think it's 10 times more scary, even though he has a little crooked smush nose. I think he's terrifying. Some people seem to think he's not as scary. What?
Yeah, what does it sound? What does it sound like?
Stars.
That's definitely scary.
That's absolutely not what it sounds like.
I was like, that's not bad.
He's got a little bit of a lisp.
Yeah, no, it's not at all what it's.
Are you judging him?
I mean, his face is smashed in. Of course he's got a lisp.
I mean, he's doing his best.
Is he, though? He's an asshole.
I don't
we
know.
Don't like
he
him.
is an asshole.
Don't defend Nemesis.
Why?
No, he's not good. I'm kind of at the point, though, which is so hard. I don't want to see anymore. I just want to go in it blind because we know we're getting new stuff, and it's really cool that they're kind of creating a canon of RE3. They're getting rid of the choices you can make. They're getting rid of the multiple endings. This is going to be the canon. I don't want to know anymore, but like it's kind of my job,
of course,
to know more. So I'll continue to break these trailers down.
You say you don't want to, but you know you want to.
She just wants the
love
game.
Hate.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll cross our fingers that you get lots more juicy trailers that you can grunt to, make you happy. Just a couple more things I'm going to run down quickly. By the time the podcast has aired, a Smash Ultimate had a direct. Is it probably maybe Dante? Who could say? So over at IGN, they write that Capcom producer Matt Walker posted a tweet earlier this month announcing an update for Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition for Nintendo Switch. In a short video online, Walker told fans to keep an eye out on some upcoming dates for Devil May Cry news. One of those dates is January 16th. Coincidentally, the same day as the Nintendo Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Fighter reveal livestream.
Look at that sleuthing.
I mean, it's got to be Dante, right?
You would think so.
Could
be, what was the other guy? V? Was that his name?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
But I don't
V,
think so
right?
because
No.
I think it'll be
Steimer,
Dante.
you and I just forgot his name, and we just
I know,
reminded
we did.
ourselves
Isn't he
of his
like
name.
a husband?
He's like, I mean, that doesn't mean you don't need to remember their names.
He's got, that's fair. He's got the animal friends.
Yeah, no, he is.
V.
What? Yeah, V.
It's V.
Yeah. He was sexy to me. Anyways, I'm a little into the emo. It's good. But yeah, I couldn't have remembered his name.
You don't have
remember
to
his look.
You're like, listen, I'm only looking at your face. I don't need to know what's on your driver's license. It's good.
It's true.
Okay, so we'll talk about that next week if it's interesting or not.
We'll
if it's not.
talk about it.
According to analysts at Sensor Tower, players spent $61.7 billion globally on mobile games in 2019, a 12.8% increase from 2018. The biggest moneymaker was Tencent's Honor of Kings, which brought in $1.5 billion by itself.
That's insane.
That's
insane.
Also known as Arena of Valor here on our side of the planet. It's on the Switch.
Yeah,
it's free.
Arena of Valor is it's a MOBA. It is
very successful.
Yeah, it is very successful. I've played it a little bit. I haven't yet found a rhythm with MOBAs on mobile, and let's be honest, connecting to the internet on your Switch is just a pain in the neck. So I just don't play multiplayer games on my Switch. But from what I've played on mobile, it was really fun. But congrats, 1.5 billion. That's like Fortnite
That's a lot of dope.
It is.
And then the last piece with the /sad trombone.
Mm-hmm. That was good.
During 2019's holiday period, GameStop sales were down 27.5% compared to last year.
That's
Ouch.
crazy.
Same-store sales were down 24.7% year over year. That number, same-store sales, were down 24.7%. So that includes like stores that so the overall number would always include outliers. But the idea that it's 24.7% for same store sales, I was just like, that's like the biggest fucking bummer to me. Like to hear a story like this. We all know that GameStop's been struggling against online infrastructure, against digital distribution, and they've tried to buff their business with collectibles and t-shirts and tchotchkes of all sorts and exclusive editions of consoles, which they've been actually very good about going out and getting, but clearly it's just
too little too late.
Yeah, it's just not enough.
Just
I'm telling you,
a little too late.
We still need to have
song.
the mega store. Somebody needs to buy the bankrupt rights to Toys R Us, which I think somebody did.
Someone did. Yeah.
And they need to combine it with all the rights to GameStop and then just make them into one big superstore. Be like, are you the adult and you have your kid? Buy your kid a toy on this side and buy you a toy on this side. Boom.
Yeah, that
Toys
would be great.
for
I would live
everyone.
there. Exactly.
Throw in a bar and I would exist
God.
solely in that area. You know, it's interesting because the statements coming
Throw in
out
a bar
are,
with some chicken legs.
Oh, wait, what? Did I fuck
No,
something up?
No,
you didn't.
You didn't do anything
Okay.
wrong.
All the statements coming out are, hey, new consoles will bring us back. We're waiting for the new consoles. People aren't buying new consoles. Obviously, it's going to be interesting once this new generation does release. how it does affect their sales, how much longer it'll allow them to stay afloat, and then what their, I hate calling it an excuse, will be, because that sounds asshole-ish, but, you know, are they going to be able to pivot? It's interesting to follow this saga. It's sad, actually.
It is.
Like GameStop.
Because, like, they are at this point now, you know, trying to pivot and trying to figure out a way to stay relevant. But I don't, like I said, it might actually just be too little too late at this point, because customers, if they were frustrated with their GameStop experience, have definitely gone elsewhere and can find, like, you can buy the consoles other places. You can buy them at Target. You can buy them at Best Buy. You can buy them, hell, like, you know, on Amazon. So there's a number of different venues, whereas before, you know, you're like, where do I want to go to get games? Oh, the place with game in the title is probably a good place to start. So it really is kind of fascinating, even when you look back on, like, when I've grown, even in my short window of life, how everything has changed so drastically. Mm-hmm. Like, you had to go to a mall to buy things. There was no other option. You went to the store. And and that's kind of what they, you know, would bank on at the time, right? Like, you have to come here.
Well, I mean, I think that they still can bank on that, because I think that there's still a selection of goods that people want to buy today, that they're like, I can't wait for even Amazon, like, 2-day Prime shipping. I need to have the thing I need today. And that's why there's still a brick and mortar presence for a lot of major brands. And I think that was what was so important about a brand like GameStop, is that they're, you know, spread into the rural markets was so crucial for gamers who live in areas where it's tough to get deliveries. Like, there's a lot of places in the United States that don't have Prime as an option. Yeah. And when you talk about getting a game delivered by mail for launch night, get out of here. You're never going to have it at midnight for launch night. You're going to get it the next day if you're lucky, or if you're like me, Amazon cancels your order and says, oh, sorry, good luck to you, and then gives you, like, nothing in return. Yeah. You know, and so it's tough when, you know, because of the way that the market conditions are, that they're being forced out to, it's really unfair to the people who are already at a disadvantage. It feels like it's just like the story of America now. Just kick the people that are down because they're down. They're the easiest to kick. And, like, generally people in those rural markets also have the most difficult access to high-speed internet, which you need to download these files. I was just talking about this in the Discord the other day. I was like, I was updating my Division 2 game because I wanted to get back into that, because I was like, there's all these story stuff, these episode DLCs that I haven't played. I want to jump back in and refresh. And I went to go update it, and now the game file, if you download it from scratch, is over 100 gigabytes.
Good luck to you.
You know? And, like, it's only going to get worse going into the next generation. And so it's like, you know, some people need to get the disc, because otherwise they're waiting like 8 to 10 hours. I guess my only point is,
if you had a GameStop near you, chances are I would say you have a Target, you have a Kmart, or you have a Walmart. Like, you have one of those three things also around you. You can still get them. I think that was kind of where my point is, that now I don't think, even if you live in middle America, I don't think your brain automatically goes to, I have to go to a GameStop to get this, even if in disc form. I feel like people are just a little bit more informed now. The other retailers are doing a better job promoting games and promoting the fact that they have them and sell them. Whereas before, like, even if, like, if Target had them, it'd be like, sure, they're, like, in the back under a curtain. Like, you know, like, you don't really want to know they're there.
But the in-store selection at a Walmart or a Target,
it's not as good.
Vastly different than the in-store selection at a GameStop.
Absolutely agree.
It's just, I think the hard part for me is, obviously, like, you guys know that I worked with GameStop for several years, and I have friends that are still actively working at GameStops right now. And so, like, this news sucks. It sucks for them as employees. It sucks for all the people who've put many years into building this as a brand. But, I mean, this comes down to the fact that the leadership didn't pivot fast enough to answer the rise of digital creep on their business. And, like, that's the hard part to kind of wrestle with. This idea that you have all of these really passionate people. Obviously, there's, you know, people that aren't passionate that work at GameStops. But, like, a lot of them that I've met are all super hyper focused on what they love about video games, and they love sharing that love with the people that walk into GameStops. And it's hard for me because I don't think that going to Target is a one-to-one replacement for walking into a GameStop.
But what if? You know how sometimes they have Sephora's and JCPenney's? What if they did that? What if GameStop partnered with
a
the
CVS
Target
and a Target?
Yes. Like, what if they partnered in a Walmart or a Kmart or whatever, and they were like GameStop in Target?
Let's do it.
Come on, you get your Starbucks, you get your games.
No, but
you
see,
get
you
on
go in
with
there
your life.
spending more money. You go into Target expecting to spend $60 on a game. You spend like $160 because
that is your problem, my dear.
But I think that something
that's what
like
they
that.
They need it.
But that's
I know.
That takes
it's
vision
true.
though from somebody in their C-suite, and I don't know who's on that team now because I've been so far removed for a number of years. But like, I would love to see them do something like that, pitch something like that, try to keep the business alive, and go, hey, we see the writing on the wall. We have X amount of years before we like have to go into bankruptcy or we have to sell. And like their stock price like speaks for itself, how it's been dropping in order for them to survive and keep that brand, because they have immense brand recognition and they can capitalize on that if they find the right partner. I just don't know if they're going to, because maybe the other brick and mortar retailers are like, dude, like we're all fighting against the digital tide. Like maybe just like let it tow you under.
It'd be interesting to see how
it's just like they're like, we'll let you drown. Because
how
we have
Target's
other things
electronics department's doing, right? Because that's still also brick and mortar. It'd be interesting to see what the sales would be for that. Because maybe everyone's thinking.
This is the hard part that I struggle with, and I'm not going to soapbox on it for too much longer. I just want to say this last piece. It's like there is a struggle between stores knowing what to keep in stock on the shelves that consumers are going to walk in going, I need this thing today in my hand, versus what you're going to order a specialty item like from Amazon for. And I've run into this in several situations over the last couple of months. And I know that my line of work is highly specialized. But like I've walked into Target looking for a specific Polaroid film and didn't find it. I've walked into stores looking for specific types of USB-C or USB 3.0 cables and didn't find them because they're like, oh, we just don't carry those.
Yep. It's maddening.
It's like you look for things that aren't like, I wasn't looking for like a 50-foot long cable. Like I get that like specialty cables are something you have to special order, but I just figure some of this stuff would normally have been stock things. But you go into a lot of stores now and like the shelves are like bare bones, and like it like bums me out because I get that the brick and mortar has an obligation to pay rent and keep the electricity on and pay their employees, whereas online stores have much lower overhead and like.
But the shitty part about that is like, so I've had this similar experience where I'm like, oh, I'll just go into the store, right? Because again, we grew up in an age where that's what you kind of did. So yes, we are used to using our phones and Amazoning, but we're also used to like, you just go to the store and you get the thing immediately and you walk away. You don't have to worry about it. I've had that happen a few times where I've gone to the store and it's like, and it's a really mundane thing and they don't have it. And I'm like, well, what good are you to me? Why do you exist? The only place I apparently should leave my house for to go get is for groceries.
And they have to stock those always.
And that's it. Like, because I can just buy cables or whatever I need on my phone with Amazon and it will be here tomorrow.
And it's so much cheaper too.
And it is, dude.
But again,
okay, now we're going down a rabbit hole of why HDMI costs $2 on Amazon and $50.
But I don't want to get down that rabbit hole because there's like. What I would say to you is like the quality control on Amazon is non-existent. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a shit piece of equipment that said it was brand name and it clearly was not, and it's broken. Yeah, it's cheaper, but it's cheaper. You get what you pay for. But also this idea that, you know, you can go to Amazon, but you don't get it today. And like also again, to reiterate, we live in major metropolitan areas where Prime now is a thing. If you go to some of these more rural areas, even if in Fargo, my hometown, they have specific items that are available for Prime, but there's a whole swath of items that I can get for Prime delivery here in the Los Angeles metro that like my family can't get for Prime delivery in Fargo.
Yeah,
makes sense. So I think that to me is the tragedy of what's happening to GameStops is that they served a really amazing community purpose, and I wish that they sooner would have dived in or leaned into the idea of building gaming communities around their stores to make themselves so valuable that people would prefer to walk into a GameStop store that's local because they have relationships with the people who run those stores. They do D&D sessions there. They do BYOCs or whatever tournaments that they would say, hey, I would rather buy from you because I'm supporting somebody in my community than going to Target.com, BestBuy.com, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that they missed that, Or if they were talking about it and didn't implement it, it's like, what was the hurdle?
They missed the window.
Why didn't you do it? So, I mean, I don't want to say that this is the end for them because obviously it's not. They're still a behemoth of a company. But I hope that they can course correct enough to save enough jobs to keep what they represent alive. But they have to innovate. They have to change. They have to pivot.
I think there's potential, again, like last thing I'll say about it, is for this experience that they're going for, right? Where that's where you go to play D&D or to play console games or whatnot. Like I think of the mall that's closest to me, and it's a relatively small mall, but there is a store in there that does have several TVs set up and several consoles and D&D nights and whatnot. And every time I go there, it's just packed, and they sell games too and whatnot. So I think there is a large group of people who are looking for that community, right? I think that's something we see with what we do is people want to be involved in a community that's based around their hobby and passion. If they can do it and do it right, then I think they'll be okay. I think they still need to shut down a whole bunch of stores because unfortunately that's just the reality of it. But even just seeing, like I said, firsthand of the store in my local mall, it's like, wow, I did not expect that to actually be so successful, but it's doing incredibly well.
Yeah, I mean, it is because there has been that resurgence of sort of tabletop, right? Just tabletop in general, not even just tabletop RPG, but just regular old board games that we used to play when we were children, right? And Monopoly. If you feel like a store is a second home away from home, you're going to go and you're going to support that business. And that's the other silly thing to me is I'm like, GameStop, you could have leaned into that a hell of a lot sooner. Your name is Game. It's just GameStop, not Video GameStop. Game. Incorporate way more types of games into your store and pimp those out. And again, do exactly what these other more mom and pop stores are doing. And you could have you have way more marketing budget than they do. You could have gotten butts and seats is all I'm saying.
It makes me wonder if they hadn't thought about pivoting until it was, obviously we know this is the case, too late, but for one of these reasons, I was someone who, Steimer calls me a hoarder, and you both have seen my game collection. I've always said physical till I die. I'm always going to have physical games. I don't want to go.
Traditionalist.
Yeah, there we go.
Traditionalist hoarder.
There you go. Thanks.
Well, no, hoarders keep trash. Brittany doesn't keep trash. She's an
organized hoarder. We've had this discussion.
She's an overzealous collector.
And I have tamed my ways because I was like, ain't nobody got time or room for this, even in my house. So yeah, I was one of those people who's like, I gotta have physical disc. I like the traditional way of doing things. It makes me feel good that I own my property, whatever you want to call it. And I'm sure like many others, slowly saw the light of how beautiful digital can be. Granted, there are downsides, but I think for a while there was that push of digital sucks. Digital is not the way to go. You need physical disc. It's the way to do it. We all caused kind of a big
I had
stink.
that too. Yep. Oh yeah.
And slowly but surely though, especially as I started getting review copies and they were digital, I was like, I was losing my discs. I've always lost my discs since I was a little kid, misplacing cartridges left and right. And it just kind of snuck up on me. And now I can't remember the last time I bought anything physical. And if I did, it's because it came as a part of a collector's edition that I bought. Right. And it's just, yeah, I don't know. I think it all kind of stuck up on us. I never thought in a million years I would have been someone who's digital only, but it happened. So maybe I'm part of the reason. I'm sorry.
It is all you.
It is all me. I will bear the weight on my shoulders.
Yeah. It's all those collector's editions you stopped buying.
Yeah. Oh,
that's 30% of the revenue.
For me only.
Yeah.
Brittany has single-handedly
taken down GameStop.
Shit.
And on that note, why don't we take our first break and only break of the show? When we come back, we're going to be talking about more pleasant things, like what we've been playing and watching and reading. It's going to be a cornucopia of entertainment. Stick with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. It's the second segment of the What's Good Games podcast. This is the part of the show where we talk about what we've been playing, if we've been to a special event, and all around just what games we think you should check out. So this week, this segment is brought to you by patreon.com/whatsgoodgames, We've already told you about our exclusive streams that happen every month, and they're happening next Tuesday, January 21st. If you would like to join us for our happy hour Q&A and our after hour stream, you've got to go join your preferred membership level at patreon.com/whatsgoodgames. Plus, we've got exclusive vlogs. We've got posts and polls. You get to pick what we talk about on the show and so much more. I haven't even talked about the amazing postcard art.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's going to be worth a lot. See, this is what you do, friends. You pledge to us at the postcard level. You get the postcards. You save the postcards. You lock them away in a safe where nothing can touch them for about 50 years. You turn around, you sell them, you make bank. We're helping you here.
We're not sure who you're selling them to, but, it'll happen.
In 50 years, somebody will want paper because it won't exist.
Oh, my God. What if the currency was cardboard?
Patreon.com/whatsgoodgames. Okay, Brittany. I've been seeing you tweet about Dragon Ball.
And you're wearing a Dragon Ball shirt.
You thought this was a pickle dick, and to your fairness, it does look like
it looks like a pickle that's bandaged, like an injured pickle. Like he has a head injury, like his head is wrapped in a pickle. I mean, in a bandage.
You just described Piccolo to a T. You did a very good job. Congratulations. So for those of you listening, my shirt is a pickle with Namekian gear. It's Piccolo's turban and his little shoulder guards, but it's like a legit warty pickle.
It looks like a pickle on a pillow with a hat.
Inside a pillow, like inside of a Ziploc bag.
Yeah, like he's just hanging out in a nice, he's going to take a nap.
It's like a Ziploc bag that's got cotton at the top of it.
It's like a weird.
Can we have a new segment where I wear shirts of Dragon Ball Z characters and you ladies just tell me like what you think is going on?
Yes. I also want to know what like Zameki. Did you say Zameki in armor? What did you say?
Namekian. He's a Namek.
What is that?
I'm assuming
he's from the planet Namek. Namekian. Think of an alien.
Silly duh, Andrea.
Sorry, duh. Just think of a green alien man with little antennae. His name is Piccolo. He's a very, very good friend of Goku and Gohan, and I'm going to talk about that here in a hot minute. Aren't you excited?
Does he look like a pickle in the game?
Yeah, some people actually like Piccolo. Some people are into it. Not myself personally.
Oh,
but hey.
This guy.
Yeah.
He's just green. He doesn't look like a pickle. Pickle.
But his name is Piccolo, so it's a pun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but your shirt, for people who are not watching at youtube.com/whatsgoodgames, there's no features. It literally just looks like a pickle. There's no eyes. There's no nose. There's no eyebrows or indentations to indicate a face or arms of any kind. It truly is just a pickle in a Ziploc bag with a bandage.
Ziploc bag? It's a cape, Andrea. It's a cape.
Why has it got so much fabric on the front of the cape, though?
That's what it looks like. It's what
it does. It looks like he's got like a mock turtleneck. No, like a cowl neck.
Yes, he has a cowl neck, a cape,
cowl neck sweater
with some major shoulder pads. It's fashion. It's Namekian fashion. How dare you judge it?
Oh my God, I love this so much. I'm so happy. This is our new thing. All right, noted.
Okay.
Noted.
So now that we're
tell us about the game that you've wanted since you were a wee child.
Yeah, so it's Dragon Ball Z Kakarot.
Good job.
Did I do it?
You did. Yes. No, I'm very proud of you. You're getting very good with your Dragon Ball lingo.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you, Bandai Namco, for the code. So this game is coming out on the 17th, and so I guess it's out the day this podcast releases. It is developed by CyberConnect 2, published by Bandai Namco, out for Xbox One, PS4, and PC. And so before I start talking about it, it's been said that this game, the main story is 40 hours long. If you were to do everything in the game, 100 hours. Yikes. I am only about 7 to 8 hours in, so I'm still very early. I just got my code yesterday. So I just got through the Saiyan saga, and I'll explain that in a second. So this is kind of more of a wee baby first impressions, but I'm sure I'm going to uncover more as I play.
Of course.
So this
is it everything you've ever hoped for?
Kind of.
Great.
Yeah, it's a good step. So Dragon Ball Z Kakarot follows the Saiyan saga through the Kid Buu saga. Now this spans the entirety of the Dragon Ball Z series, because you have Dragon Ball, you have Dragon Ball Z, you have Dragon Ball Super, you got Dragon Ball GT if you want to count that. They're all separate, but this is purely Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z is 290-ish episodes.
Yikes. That's a lot of manga to watch. Is that right? Anime.
Manga's the manga's
yeah.
Yeah.
I caught myself.
You did it. I'm proud of you.
So, I love you both so much. You guys are the best friends ever. Thank you.
We're trying, Brittany.
No, I know.
I
and
mean,
I see it,
Steimer knows this
I know.
stuff. I'm
like,
trying.
I knew that. I don't know
Steimer's
Dragon Ball,
excuse
but I
me,
do know
I read
that.
manga. Get out of here.
I do read manga, and I have watched anime, just not this particular
I love you
one.
both. You both just picked up your wine at the same time. You're like, time to drink. It's going to get real nerdy. Okay, so
Yep. Lay it on me.
So Dragon Ball Z Kakarot also expands on specific lore throughout the game. It adds some new characters. So if you know the series front and back, there's something new and exciting for you. All right, so again, it starts with the Saiyan saga, and you have to take Gohan to meet Master Roshi, Bulma, Krillin, because it's been 5 years since you've seen them. No one has met your son before, even though these are supposedly like some of your best friends and the people that raise you. You just kind of fuck off for 5 years. I don't know. Goku's kind of an asshole. I love Goku. Heart of Gold, terrible father, also an asshole, but I love him.
All right.
So
we'll analyze that later.
Yeah. We'll get our therapist notes
out. Piccolo is Gohan's like actual dad. That's what most people say. Again, like that's a whole nother thing.
Having a Piccolo as a dad must be weird.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a cucumber. Okay, so the first thing I'll talk about is in terms of the story and the characters. Now, obviously, I think they are what make Dragon Ball Z so incredible. The vast majority, the characters are so different. There's so many of them. There's so much lore there to follow. And I think the thing to remind yourself here before you dive into this game is the Saiyan saga I finished in 7 hours. Now, the Saiyan saga in Dragon Ball Z is 35 episodes, which translates about 15 to 17 hours. So, and part of my gameplay was me just fucking around in the world, right? I'm not always doing story missions and whatnot. So I think the thing that I think I knew this going into it, but it would have helped me to go to like remember it when I started playing, is that not everything can be touched on. And that's really important to remember if you are a true blue fan of the anime, because a lot of things are going to be left out in terms of some of the fun kind of story fluff and filler that you get in between battles, in between episodes. And for that reason, I think if you're new to Dragon Ball Z, I don't know if this is the way to experience it. Now, granted, if you are someone who's like, I'm never going to sit and watch all 291 episodes of the anime.
Me.
That's you. You could play this and you could get the main story beats. But what you're going to miss on is some of the fun stuff that kind of connects the story together. So, for example, in the Saiyan saga, there's a part where Goku's son Gohan, who's only like, 5 at this point, he's really powerful. He just doesn't know it yet. So Piccolo, because sound like a fucking love triangle here. Goku is dead.
Oh,
Piccolo,
rip.
Yeah, everyone dies several times throughout the series.
They just resurrect?
Yeah, Dragon Balls.
Is it part of the lore that they resurrect, or do they just conveniently resurrect them?
They collect the 7 Dragon Balls.
Oh.
And they resurrect people, because once you collect the Dragon Balls, you can grant any wish you want.
I totally understand everything that's happening right now.
I love you. Thank you. Just smile and nod, baby girl. At one point, someone requests the most comfortable pair of women's panties, and that's the wish they get.
Really?
It's kind of a joke. Yeah.
Wait, is that a real thing that happens in Dragon Ball?
Well, they've got 290 episodes. They got to fill some of them.
I mean, I want the most comfortable pair of panties.
Did
they reveal the design? Should we make them?
I wish. They do look really cute and comfy, though. Anywho, yeah, so people die a lot in this game. So Goku's dead. Gohan is the son. Gohan's really powerful. He just doesn't know it. Piccolo takes him and he's like, I'm going to train your ass because we got a year to get strong before these assholes come to our planet and try to fuck our shit up. And he leaves Gohan like all by himself for 6 months in the middle of the wilderness, a 5-year-old. Like he just leaves him there. Now Gohan has a mother who loves him very much and cares about him very much, but her name's Chi-Chi, never is in the game. You never hear anything from her. All you know is that Gohan is in the wilderness for 6 months by himself. And it's kind of a weird thing, like, but wouldn't the mom be worried about him when it
No, that's when it was safe in the world.
With like dinosaurs and everything.
Your parents would be like, go play in the woods for a while.
He can just use his hair as a weapon. It's fine.
It's got enough hair gel in it.
You just stab things with it.
That's very true. You ladies need to be co-writers on the next Dragon Ball series, because I think you have some really great insight that was forgotten, did not even thought about.
I appreciate your sarcasm. Continue.
I love you. Okay. So as a fan, I can fill in those cracks of like, okay, so I know in the anime, Chi-Chi ultimately found out that Goku was dead and Gohan was alive, and she passed out, and then she was freaking out trying to find out where he is and trying to watch him, and she sees him and she has this really emotional moment, but none of that is told in the game. So I think for that reason alone, if you're gonna play it and you're new, just be careful.
I'm now curious. Like now, I want to play it because I want to see if I understand it at all.
I would love it if you would. I know you said you'd play RE2 for me. You really didn't, so you could come
You know
through,
what?
play
Hey,
Kakarot
I
for
did
me.
play it for
how long?
couple of hours.
Here's the thing.
Like 4 hours.
So
I played for like 4 hours.
I played this game at E3 Judges Week last year, and I actually had a good time with it, knowing like only like Goku's name and Trunks, because you talk about Trunks all the time, from this series, and it still like holds up as an action adventure RPG. There's a lot of really cool mechanics, which I'm sure Britt will get into in just a second. So I think that if you have even like a base level understanding of what's happening with the story, I think the mechanics of the, kind of like, I don't want to call it truly open world because it's not a sandbox, right? Would you agree with that statement, Britt?
It's a whole bunch of little sandboxes.
That's fine by me.
Yeah, it's like
I don't like it to be too
third-person
in-depth.
action adventure RPG or action RPG. You could maybe even call it, because there's not really a lot of traversal puzzles.
I may ask
and
for a
things.
code for this because why not?
So
No, you should.
think you would.
It's so crazy. I think you're gonna love it because it's so crazy and it's so weird.
I'm gonna be like,
Goku
what the fuck is
fishes
happening?
with a fake tail. He puts on the back of his butt and he wiggles it around. It's great.
Are you excited to get the text messages from me when I start playing this game?
Yeah, I'm so excited. But honestly, yeah. So again, not saying you shouldn't play it if you've never played it before, because like Andrea said, she had a good time. Just like a little heads up. This is my little disclaimer to you. And I think if you're a big fan of the series, you can fill in like the little beats and you know what's happening. But it's like, oh, I forgot about that part. That part happened, and it's anyway. But this is so true to Dragon Ball Z. It's so quirky like Dragon Ball Z. The scenes you do get to see so far, all the voice actors have sounded the exact same from the anime. I'm sure some people had to come in and take over for other roles and whatnot, but so far it's just been, the same Goku, the same Vegeta, the same Piccolo, the same Tien, Chaozu, Yamcha, Puar, all these characters. It's really cool. And it does look beautiful. It looks just like you're watching an HD version of the anime. And so it's really neat to be able to fly around and see all these buildings and see some of these iconic locations that you do get to see. So if you're a fan of Dragon Ball Z, like you 100%, I think, need to play this game. It's a good time. There is, for those of you who aren't super familiar with Dragon Ball Z, like my two lovely co-hosts, something called the Z Encyclopedia. And this is essentially a codex. It has almost 1,000 different entries.
Wow.
Inside as you unlock them. Yeah, it covers character relationships because it is just like one big melting pot of this person's married to
like
this
a
person.
telenovela?
But this person, it's a lot. All the story, it really deep dives into the story. It fills in some of those gaps that I've been talking about. So if you're kind of wondering, well, why did this happen? It does a really good job at explaining it. And it's also really cute. As you're walking around, there's collectibles that are throwbacks to Dragon Ball. I haven't seen anything after Dragon Ball, but I'm assuming that's because you are in Dragon Ball Z, which takes place after Dragon Ball. Anyway, cute little clips of the history of Goku growing up with Krillin and Master Roshi and meeting Chi-Chi and Yamcha for the first time. Really cute stuff. So, a few little gripes kind of when it comes to this story and character part of the game. A lot of the dialogue is voice acted, and obviously it's voice acted extremely well. These are the voice actors that have been playing these characters for, I don't even know how long, 20, 30 years. I don't know how long it's been. It's been a very long time, 20 years. Anywho, as expected, they're all great. But when you're used to watching the anime, you're used to seeing, their facial animations, there's, the very like heavy handed moments. Their faces look how they should. They look concerned. They're not just kind of staring like blankly. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things with this is during some of the more important cutscenes or during the more pivotal cutscenes, the facial animations just aren't there. I don't know. It almost seems like there wasn't maybe time ran out to do proper animations, to do choreographed scenes, because sometimes it does feel like you're just watching two characters, two models, just kind of have a conversation back and forth, but there's no one's really moving. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh my God, this bad guy's coming. Oh no, we need to kill him. Oh no, our friend is dead. But there's just no body language
I like
there.
This more.
What?
Oh no, our friend is dead.
Yeah, I want you to enact really dramatic things, but like that from now on.
Okay. Anything for you, Steimer.
Thanks, baby girl.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, in that sense, it's not a terrible thing, but I guess one of the reasons why this game could definitely be someone's personal game of the year, but obviously, like, not that anyone's expecting it, but it doesn't have the chops to do like a critical game of the year because the story beats just don't hit home when someone is being all dramatic about something, but they're just staring at you. It's like, it doesn't look real. It's just kind of like weird. And maybe it's just me because I'm used to seeing these characters over 290 episodes actually having facial animations.
Right. But I think that's a fair critique.
Yeah. Let's see.
Talk to me about smashing things.
Gameplay. Yeah. So so far I've come across about 3 different sandboxy areas, and they're relatively large areas. The issue though is that there just doesn't seem to be a lot to do right now. As I've played, I have unlocked bases and enemy bases, and I have unlocked very strong enemies, elite enemies that I can't even touch with a 10-foot pole right now, even if I wanted to, because they would just
Is that like a grinding roadblock that you find to be fun? You're like, oh, I've got to go grind some side quests, or do you find it like a hindrance, like, oh, this is annoying my progression?
Unfortunately, it's more of a hindrance because first of all, there's no way to change the difficulty in this game.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, and so and I'll talk about the combat in a minute. The combat's incredibly fun, but you do have to be very calculated. And as someone who isn't used to doing fighting games, because I haven't played the Dragon Ball Z fighting games, but I've heard that this does pull slightly from them, which would make sense. I'm not used to that kind of combat, so it is a little rough for me. I'm managing. I think I've lost maybe 2 or 3 fights, and then you have to start them all the way over, and each enemy has maybe 3 or 4 different rows of health bars, so you have to it's not, they're not quick
fights. And there's
fights.
no checkpointing in the middle of the fight.
Right. I haven't come across any checkpointing.
That's frustrating.
Oh, interesting.
The other issue is that these sandbox areas are so big, and I've come across maybe 4 or 5 side quests, and it's not enough. So
oh, wow. Really? That's it?
Yeah, that's it. And I'm hoping more will become available. And, okay, I think I can mention this. If I can't, I'll let you know, but I have a review.
Check your notes. So I'm just trying to get a grasp on this as a game. So obviously, like any kind of action RPG, there's like an overarching story. You've got your main quest line.
Oh, here we go.
You've got a couple different side quests. And so generally, if I'm in an open world-ish RPG of any kind, if I run into enemies that are too high level, I just go kind of farm other areas and get resources, either for crafting or I kill enemies for money. Is there like opportunities to do that? Because when I played, I mean, in fairness, like I played a build that's like 7 months old, or almost 9 months old at this point. Well, maybe more like 6 months, but it didn't feel like there was a lot of opportunity to farm enemies like out in the wild.
No, there's not. Before I touch on that, I just did get an email from the PR team saying that they are adding 11 subquests. I don't know when those will come into play. I mean, 11 still doesn't seem like that much over the course of a 50 to 100 hour game, but we'll see. But no, to go back to your farming, yeah, that's the other thing. Like, I love getting OP in RPGs like this, where you
you and me, we're like level grinders. We like to walk up and one shot people.
You can't. So what you have to do that is you have to. The easiest way that I found is hop up. You're flying, fly in the air, and just kind of like sprint through the air. I don't know what sprinting in the air is called. Is there a term for that? Fly very fast.
Turbo boost? I don't know.
Turbo boost. And
fly.
you will get you'll see little exclamation points throughout the map where that's where an enemy is. And then you fly toward the enemy, and then you engage in a battle. And I found maybe it takes like 10 to 11 battles to gain a level. Obviously, the problem is that those enemies don't get more powerful. And so when you need to now get double the amount of XP to level up, you have to now, do double the grinding. There's not really anywhere to go to find stronger enemies. So it really kind of does become a grind.
So the enemies in the world aren't dynamic. They don't scale with your player level.
I don't think they do, because so each saga is broken into chapters, and depending on what chapter you are, I found that the enemies' levels stay the same. I would progress to the next chapter, where obviously you've gained more experience points after certain boss battles. You're now maybe 6 levels higher, and those enemies have scaled, but they won't scale anymore.
Interesting. I'm always kind of on the fence about enemy scaling. Part of me is like, I like it for the sense of grinding. Like, I need to be able to get more XP, but I also love being really OP.
Yeah.
And like going back to areas and just like one-shotting all the little puny enemies.
Yeah, you're just like, I sneeze on you, and then they die.
Yeah.
That's the best.
So,
best feeling in the world.
Part of the, because I also like being really OP, and I think it would feel really awesome to be OP in this game. I wonder, though, if the reason that they didn't include a difficulty option is because a lot of these fights can't, in the canon with Goku and Frieza and Vegeta and all them, they are like down to the wire, right? They are intense by the end. He has a swollen eye. All of his clothes are basically like peeled off of him, and he's all banged up and bleeding. I don't know if they remove the option for difficulty for that reason, so it stays more true, or if I am just not that great at the combat in this game, which, hey, that could be the case. But
you're still in like the intro levels. Like I feel like when you're playing a game that has a literal, like probably more accurately like a 50 to 75 hour like runtime, right? Like you're not gonna get proficient until you hit like hour 25, right?
Thank you. But yeah, like, it's interesting because the enemies that you find in the world are very easy, but it's the boss fights where it's like recommended level 18, and if you're level 17, I could spend maybe an hour or so grinding and maybe trying to do some side quests, or I could go after the fight, and I am able to do that, and I'm able to be successful, but it might take me 2 or 3 tries, or maybe, just depending on like what kind of fight it is.
Sure, makes sense.
Yep. So you're going around the world. You're doing sub quests if you can find them. There's the main missions that are marked with a red exclamation point on your map. You can go to those. And the other main thing that fills this world up are what's called Z orbs. And so you find blue Z orbs by water areas. You find red ones maybe in the desert. You find green ones where there's forests, and they're everywhere. I mean, it's like Easter egg hunts where there's just like a plain field in front of you, and there's just eggs fucking everywhere, and you see them all. The world is just literally filled with these, so they're not
everywhere.
That's what I'm glad your brain went there too.
It literally put a vision in my mind of 2 eggs like trying to hump each other.
That's what happened with me too. I'm so glad we're on the same page. Cheers.
Okay, I did not describe my mental image clearly enough, but I'm glad you got what I'm saying now. That's hilarious.
I know. I know what you meant, but the way it was phrased was great.
I just see these little eggs that only have arms and legs, but they have no faces, and then they're just like doggy style humping each other. Just eggs, but like because they're round, it doesn't quite work, and that's what's funny about it.
That's how Humpty Dumpty got broke.
Oh shit! He didn't fall
Don't
off that
do
wall.
it against
the
wall.
B-sides of Humpty Dumpty. Hey kids, let me tell you a story.
Can we do this? No. Can we do this for all fairy tales? The B-sides?
Yes.
About Goldilocks in that bed?
Definitely be a thing.
Okay, so you're grabbing Z orbs, which are not fucking eggs, and you use them to apply to your skill tree. So each character has a skill tree, and you share the orbs between all the characters, which is like
Does that mean you can kind of screw it up and like accidentally unlock way too much on one and then not on the others and be?
I think you could if you did it wrong. Like I think you could do that, and that's one of the things where I don't know how many characters I'm going to play as, or I don't know how often I'm going to play as Gohan or Piccolo, right? So I don't know, should I buff him up or should I buff him up? So it's kind of, I'm still, testing the waters when it comes to that. But that's why you collect the Z orbs. The flying mechanic is pretty cool. Unfortunately, it doesn't feel as good as I think it should. You go up or down, elevate or descend.
Yeah.
With L1 or LB, LT, or R1, R2, depending on what platform you're playing on. And it feels kind of sticky. Like, I feel like flying is one of the coolest things about Dragon Ball Z, and I wish that it felt a little better because these orbs are so like specifically placed that if you don't run directly into them, they give you a little bit of leeway. They don't stick to you, so you have to like run into them. So if you're flying and cruising and then you see one, you have to stop flying, like hold down the button, and then your character kind of like descends. It's not like a super fluid because tilting
it's like one of those crane
up
games.
Or down.
Pretty much.
Exactly. Kind of. Yeah, that's a good way. Crane games. Instead of tilting on the right stick, to change the camera angle, I think it does change the elevation of your character, but it's kind of hard to see because the camera perspective is kind of wonky. They just use that to look around and doesn't really make your character like do the cool floaty thing. Anywho, but it is a cool thing and it is fun to just like jump up and fly. Just kind of ignore all the Z orbs around you because they're kind of a hassle to get. The last thing before I talk about combat is there's this mechanic.
There's more.
Oh yeah. Oh, this game does a lot of things that they're fun. It's interesting. Anyway, I think they're trying to lean into the RPG side of it. There's these things called soul emblems, and you get these from iconic characters from the franchise that you meet, you do a side quest for, they give you an emblem, and then you have these things called community boards. And I think there's like 7 or something total, and each board is specified to a certain trait: training, cooking, fighting, whatever. And you assign these emblems, which are just essentially a medal with a people's face on them, to each board. They buff up the board, which in turn buffs up your passive abilities.
I'm looking at the video that Bandai put out a couple days ago about the overview on soul emblems while you're talking. If you're like, what is she doing? I'm trying to get a visual for what you're describing.
Yeah, that's kind of the easiest way to explain it.
They're like a badge almost, right?
It's like a badge, yeah, like a pin of every character you meet. They are specified in certain boards. Some of them might be really good at the training board. Some might be really good at the cooking board, but you can assign them ultimately as you want to. It depends on what kind of passive buffs you want to focus on in that moment. And then to take it a step deeper, there are gifts that you can give to these emblems, which are essentially giving gifts to your friends.
GIFs or gifts?
Gifts.
Gift.
GIFTS, like presents.
Gift.
I was trying to make
presents.
a bad joke, Brittany.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
I'm in Brit mode right now. You give them gifts and you level up their friendship, and after a certain level of friendship, you'll get items.
I'm the worst.
Buffs. It's a thing. Okay, so that's that.
Baby.
I'm showing her as you're talking. I'm showing her this trailer with the soul emblems overview as you're talking.
And
Sorry to distract you. Continue on.
No, you're fine. I'm almost done, I promise. So now it's on to combat. So I'm playing on an Xbox One controller. So typically all the fights I've done, I've been in the air. So you're flying around in true Dragon Ball Z fashion because fighting on the ground is for dummies.
True.
And A button is dodge, B is punch, X is your key blast, and Y is to charge your key. LB, if you hold it down, it pulls up your special move. So like LB plus B will be a special move. LB plus A will be another move. If you have another character fighting alongside you, you can command them with RB, LT blocks, and then if you push LT and RT at the same time, you can transform into Kaioken, Super Saiyan, whatever you want to do. Again, like I was saying earlier, the combat definitely isn't a walk in the park.
Is there a lock on?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, I saw like some weird battle in there. I'm watching the trailer and I'm like, oof, I don't have a lock on. It's going to be real messy.
Yeah. No, there is a lock on. And the combat's really fun. And, someone who's watched a lot of the anime since I was like 10, it's really cool because I get to do what I've seen all my favorite characters do, right? And blast a Kamehameha wave, knock him to the ground, shoot some key blasts at him. It definitely, for me, is a learning curve. I'm not used to playing games with combat like this, but I think it's one of the highlights of the game. It's really fun. It feels really visceral, and I'm a fan. So, TLDR in this game. If you are a Dragon Ball Z fan, I personally think this is the best Dragon Ball Z game that's ever been made. It's fun.
That's high praise.
It's high praise, but it's not saying much because there hasn't been that many great Dragon Ball Z games made, unless you're into fighting, and I can't speak on those.
Yeah, Dragon Ball FighterZ had a lot of accolades when it came out, but it's such a niche genre, as you mentioned. You never hear of a Dragon Ball game that kind of goes beyond the core anime audience because they are hyper into the style of the anime that it doesn't ever reach mass market.
Right.
That's why they need to make their game with pickles, and then everyone will buy it.
Pickle Fighter Z mod that shit.
Yes.
Who's doing it?
I'm telling you.
So while I said, it's not saying a lot, I'm not trying to diminish how great of a game I think Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is. It's really fun. As a fan of the series, I'm having a really good time with it. Of course, there's just some little tidbits in there that, like the lack of facial animations, the lack of choreographed cutscenes for a lot of these. There's some issues where people say the same dialogue over and over again. You know how someone will be like, yeah, or let's do it. But then they have 3 sentences of dialogue.
Yeah, and you're like, shut up.
Yeah, you'll be like having a conversation with someone and 3 lines in, they're like, greetings. That doesn't make any sense. Whatever.
We should talk like that more often in real life. Just
throw
people off. No, I just mean like if we've had a conversation for like a few minutes and you just go greetings, and I'm like, but we've been talking. Yeah, exactly.
It's okay, girl.
Exactly,
yes.
Andrea.
So you did it, Steimer. Mission
Did
accomplished.
it. I confused someone.
You did it. It's a fun Dragon Ball Z game. I think is it perfect? No. I think when you're trying to take on an entirety of an anime series, 291 episodes, obviously you have to skimp on some of the story beats, and I understand that if that's what they're going for. But I think with that just comes, a risk of how great can you tell this story as a fan, I love it. It doesn't bother me really. It's kind of fun because I already know what happens. But I'd be really curious, like if you were to play a Steimer, what you would think about it, or you, Andrea, what you guys would think about it. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking forward to this game, if you're looking forward to this game and you have been looking forward to it, definitely pick it up and play it. It's fun. And
He's riding on a fart cloud.
What? Fart cloud?
There's a fart cloud in this game that you neglected to tell me about.
He's like, it does look like a fart cloud. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what he's riding on, but
it's the flying nimbus.
There you go.
The flying nimbus of farts.
There you go. Yeah, but no, it's fun. I'm looking forward to continuing to play it. I hope I have enough time to. I mean,
She's very proud of herself
to finish it. And
keep going, Brittany. Keep going.
No, I'm going. I think I've said it. It's a fun game. It's a good game. I mean, it's not going to make any critical game of the year list by a long shot, but I think it's personal game of the year, absolutely, and that's okay. Like, I think that's fine.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that very in-depth report.
I got you.
On I caught myself saying Dragon Ball instead of Dragon Ball.
What?
Did I never tell the story about when I was on GameStop TV and I heard doing Vegeta? Yeah, well, Vegeta was one thing, but I was doing an ad. I can't remember if it was for. It was for an Elder Scrolls thing where they were talking about dragons, and then they were talking about Daggerfall, and I kept saying Daggerfall.
Oh, Daggerfall.
Daggerfall, and I said dragon, and they said, no, it's dragon. And I said, yeah, dragon. And they're like, no, it's dragon. I go, I don't understand. I'm saying dragon. You said that I'm not saying dragon, and you're saying it's dragon. And they're like...
Oh,
yeah. They're like, no, it's dragon, and I was like, it's such a small, like regional difference.
Yes,
but they were such stickers on it, and then I
were like, do not sound like you are from North Dakota.
No, it's funny because we what was great about the team I worked with at CRM Studios, the production company that did GameStop TV, and they're all like lovely, wonderful people. Is that we get to have a little jabs back and forth, playful jabs, because they're from Texas, and I'm from North Dakota, and so like we're just from opposite ends, and obviously Texas has its own regionalisms in dialect, and a variety of words, and so also then when Daggerfall came up, I kept saying Daggerfall, and they're like, no, it's
Daggerfall.
Daggerfall.
They're like, oh, it's back to this, and I was like, oh god, I'm saying it the right way, and they're like, you can't hear yourself. I was like, I hear myself. Do you hear yourself? It was funny. Anyway, that's an aside. Let's talk about what I've been playing, which is nothing. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Since we shot the show last week, because we recorded late on Thursday. After I was done editing the show into the wee hours, Brittany hung in there with me. She sent a tweet, I think, at like 2 a.m. or whatever, being like, we're going to get the show done. It's going to happen. And we did. I woke up the next morning with a terrible case of bronchitis and chest congestion. So over the weekend, I was sleeping a lot and taking a lot of vitamins, and generally when I'm sick with something that makes me feel really sedentary, I just don't have the mental bandwidth to play anything. I like to just sit back and watch something, so that way if I fall asleep, there's no pressure.
There you go.
Because to this day...
You wake up to a dead screen.
I've only fallen asleep during one video game.
What was it?
And it happened 3 times.
What was it?
It was L.A. Noire.
Oh, shit.
That's right, Rockstar. You made the most boring game. I fell asleep 3 times.
It was, man, that game. I really wanted to love that game. I did not finish it. And I honestly, they lost me when he shimmied up the drain pipe in dress shoes. I was like,
wait, what?
Like,
I missed.
Brittany, did you play L.A. Noire?
I have not. No.
Okay. Are you familiar with what L.A. Noire is as a game? So for people listening that are like, what the heck is L.A. Noire? Take a Rockstar game, like a GTA, like a Red Dead Redemption, but put it, instead of playing like a badass like drug dealer or a cowboy, you're playing like a detective, like a low-level detective in like what, the 1930s, 1940s? I'm
really bad at years. History is not my thing.
I would have to look up. So that's probably not accurate. Let me see if I can get this.
Yeah.
And so it's like open world LA. It's set during the time of like the Black Dahlia era, like during the Black Dahlia murders. And you play a detective, and like the whole thing is like you're in this open world with like the driving, the imagine GTA driving, but way worse. Mm-hmm. And there's these mechanics where you have to like listen to people, and they made such a big stink. I know this is another aside. They made such a big stink about their technology that they built into their animation, where if you looked at the character a certain way, you could tell like where they were lying. It's like, yo, dog, I appreciate the amazing technical achievements that Rockstar Studios globally has accomplished. I think there is no denying they have pushed the medium of video game making forward in a number of ways. But this game wasn't it, dog. It was bad.
So, yeah, the technology was like they had way more cameras on the person, like all around. And that's how they were able to, quote unquote, capture the minute things that the actors might do as a tell if they were lying. And so you'd have to like doubt or believe or whatever on your witnesses because you were a detective. But the thing, so you're running around in the open world and like you have to chase after your suspects, and there's a metal drain pipe, and he climbs up it, and he's wearing dress shoes.
He's like in a zoot suit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in 1947 is when the game is set.
Yes. So the dress shoes and the drain pipe, I was like, I can't.
And there was a time when I was driving with my partner in the car, and my partner, in like true NPC fashion, is like telling me a story, and here's me like running into a telephone pole, running into a mailbox. The door falls off my car. I'm trying to, and my partner is just like,
he's like, but did you hear about this?
And I'm like, dude, we just hit a telephone pole. Do not break stride.
Be like, man, you're a bad driver.
Oh my god.
Oh god. Yeah. So the game lost me from that alone, which is maybe a stupid reason, but I
think you're probably just looking for a reason.
It just
but you didn't
broke
know it.
me completely to look at. Yeah. Because you guys both know me.
Yeah.
I'm a weird logic freak. Like if something just breaks the bounds of reality, I can't deal with it.
If anybody is a bigger, actually, glasses pusher upper than me, it's Steimer.
Yes. Yes. You and I are very similar in this regard.
It's interesting. I've been meaning to check this out, like on the Switch port that they did, because when they announced that they were porting this to Switch, I was like, LOL. This game had so many problems on console. Why are you porting it to Switch? But I would like to see if they've been able to fix it. But I think like this, like not to like be shitting on the game totally, because I think that it had the makings for something really amazing.
Yeah, some interesting
the narrative
technology,
stuff,
the narrative, the way like the concept was definitely there. Execution lacking.
Yeah. So
much like pizza rolls.
LA
Noir is like pizza rolls.
LA Noir is the pizza rolls of the industry.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're so close to perfection, but just missed it.
Burn in your mouth just a little bit.
Instead, you're like days later going, why did I do that to myself?
Well, the roof of my mouth still hurts.
This is a good show. Okay, so back to where I was at. Video games and being sick.
Yes.
I can't actively play a video game when I'm sick generally. So I was sitting on my couch, like getting up every couple of hours to go water and take more medicine.
To go water.
And I decided to finally start watching The Expanse. So I had tweeted out, you guys may have seen, and I was like, hey, friends, I've seen Watchmen. I've seen all of The Mandalorian. I've seen all of... What was the other big series? The Witcher. All great. If you haven't seen any of those series, please watch them. They're all fantastic. And I was like, what's next? What should I watch? And then so many of you came out in droves. But I do want to give a special shout out to one Benjamin 13 for being like the big Expanse cheerleader. To be like, watch this show. So I said, okay. And it's honestly crazy for me that I didn't get to it sooner because I love sci-fi. I love sci-fi stuff. And so I booted it up. You can watch you can watch all of the episodes now on Amazon Prime Video. But it originally started on Sci-Fi. And then Amazon Prime came in and saved it because Sci-Fi, I believe, had canceled it. And oh my gosh, I cannot believe I missed this show. So I'm through the first season. I'm into the first episode of the second season. They now are on season 4. I think season 4 just wrapped. But this show is the Mass Effect series you've always wanted.
Oh, what? That is a pitch if I've ever heard one.
So I am clenching.
So hear me out. So there's a couple of key Mass Effect things it's missing. First and foremost,
sex.
banging.
There isn't enough sex. That's true.
We both said sex.
There's like there's one really epic sex scene where they're like fucking in low gravity and they're both naked, and I was like,
whoa,
where they're like floating and fucking. I was like, okay,
that's like really, that would be difficult. It's difficult to do it when gravity is like,
yeah. Well, I mean, they both are very muscly, like the people in the scene. Like they're very fit.
They would have to be.
How do you do that?
Be like, come back. You're floating away.
Listen, you know what? Let your imagination run wild with how it works. But the thing that's really missing is the alien piece. So, like, I think that's where Marvel and Star Wars both excel in creating these alien characters that interact with human characters, and it feels like very natural.
One has reach and flexibility.
I love that. That's a deep.
That was good, girl. That was good.
Everyone's gonna be like, "What?"
No, everyone's gonna be like, "Yeah, Garrus." Yeah. So there's no aliens, at least not yet. I'm again only in season 1, and I'm gonna try to keep this as spoiler-free as possible, even though at this point season 1 is kind of like old history. But I've been really enjoying it because it feels like it kind of scratches that team-based. This is our ship. This is our dynamic. We have this big, scary threat that we have to fight against, and we have to work together to figure out what to do. We go to all these different stations, these different planets, and there's all of these, like, you know, the sci-fi science around like traveling in deep space and all of that. And like the cast is really well casted, even though a lot of them are unknowns. There's a couple of faces that you'll recognize, but the writing is really well done. The effects are really well done. Like, I can't believe this went under the radar for so long. And I've heard people talk about The Expanse, but I haven't seen The Expanse get any award recognition, like, at all. I guess I could look at its history and see exactly what it's been nominated for, but I haven't really seen it been winning awards. And that's the crazy part, because like you take a TV series like Fleabag, which the vast majority of people have never heard of.
I love you so much because
I know watch TV.
No, but I don't know what the fuck it is either. So Brittany and I just we're like, what? Like, I like it when we have these moments, even though we're technically thousands of miles away from each other.
We had that moment. I saw you look at me. Yeah, I saw you looking for
me.
Fleabag
cleaned house at the Emmys. Like, they just like.
Because I watched the Emmys.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Brittany and I are like, as if we are watching that.
Couldn't be bothered about pop culture. That's fine. So they won a People's Choice Award. The Expanse did for female TV star of the year. No, for favorite sci-fi fantasy show.
Yeah.
So I've been watching it, and it's great. And like, I like the pacing. I think that they did a really good job of building these characters and really incorporating a lot of like kind of like deep nerdy science talk that sci-fi fans are really excited about. And I'm excited
actually, in the black holes world.
Yeah. I don't know how accurate it is, because like that's like one of the downfalls of Star Wars, right? Is that all the nerds are like, well, actually, if you were gonna go to
the Force is technically I don't know, a bunch of little things in space.
Midichlorians.
Yes, that's the thing. I was like, what's the fucking name of the things?
So I know that like that's a big ding against Star Wars, but I'm like, yo, it's cinema, it's movies, it's fake.
It's fake. It's
like,
fun.
Get over it.
Enjoy your life.
I don't know how accurate, The Expanse is. I don't care.
You're not like getting on a
good for you.
Real talk. Don't give a shit.
You're not like getting on the Google and like, I'm going to Google every single term that they use and see if it's correct.
So you can actually someone. Yeah.
Yeah. But I've been really enjoying it, and I would encourage you, if you like sci-fi stuff, if you enjoy video games like Mass Effect or any other sci-fi based.
I like it. A new term by Andrew Renoy. Sci-fi.
It's our new show, Sci-fi. If you are interested in that kind of things, and you have also, like me, been dragging your feet on watching The Expanse, I
drag your feet no more. Fly into space and low gravity.
Hit that 0 G's. Is that it?
And fuck.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, listen, if you've got a partner that knows how to fucking zero gravity, like, there's only one. You've got one life to live. Do your thing.
I would love to deep dive that with you. I get it. Anyway, just the schematics of all that and how it would work.
It would be fine.
This is not that show.
The point is catching each other. The first part.
Yes. You probably want to like have like physical contact before the gravity goes away, Because otherwise
you're like, what?
That might be challenging. But
yeah.
I've never been in a zero gravity environment, so I couldn't say.
Same.
Make your stomach flip. Have you ever been on a roller coaster? That's a little bit of zero G.
Steimer, I'm excited for you to drop some like actual IRL knowledge on our asses.
You're excited for me to what?
Drop some IRL knowledge on our asses. I saw you tweet, or was it Instagram story?
It's Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, this is a different book, though, isn't it? Than what you were Instagramming?
Give and take.
I've read a couple books already this year.
Okay. So Instagram this one, though, right? You said everyone should read this?
Yes, I said everyone should read this book.
Okay, so maybe it's because I just saw so you posted in your stories, you started The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss.
Because I had
which is one of my favorite books of all time.
This one, not the first one. So the first book is Name of the Wind.
I'm with you. It's slow for like the first 250 pages.
I was more of like, so here are my issues with Name of the Wind. All right, we have transitioned into book hour, everybody, by the way. So just strap on your pants. My issues with it were mostly that like there were I felt like the story had zero stakes because most of that is told in the past and like when he is young and at school. I'm like,
it's all flashbacks, right?
Yeah, it's all flashbacks. I'm like, well, I know you're not like you're in danger here, but like you're not gonna die because you're sitting here telling me the story. So I care, but to what degree do I care? Do I need this much detail? Like shorten it. It's fine.
Learn to be succinct.
Yes. I think that was kind of my main issue with it. I was like more interested in like what's happening now with you, but then you don't really get that at all in the first book. And I also like, I actually feel this way about most main characters, so it's not a super knock on him, but I'm like, okay, you're a little dull and like, oh, I can just do everything great. And like there's, multiple scenarios that I'm in that are so conveniently solved because I was once a bard. And you're like, okay, well, sure. But so those are the kind of things that for the most part, I found it was well written. I didn't hate my time reading it. I just wasn't over the moon like so many people seem to be. And so when I posted on my Instagram stories, like I didn't love this book, they were like, how did you not love this book? How did you not love Name of the Wind? And I'm like, because I didn't say it was terrible. I don't think it's a terrible book. Yeah. I think it's worth a read, but I don't think it is the greatest piece of literature of all time.
So just to take a brief pause for people who are like all the way confused about what's happening in this conversation. So Patrick Rothfuss is the author of this book series called The King Killer Chronicles. There are currently 2 books that have been published. We've got The Name of the Wind and The Wise Man's Fear. So in the first book, I'm just reading from Wikipedia. The King Killer Chronicle takes place in the fictional world of Temerant, a large continent of which the known part, called the Four Corners of Civilization, is divided into several distinct nations and cultures. Much of the world follows a similar religion, though not identical, to medieval Christianity. Coexisting alongside the mortal world is the realm of the Fae, a parallel universe inhabited by supernatural creatures which can move between the two realms only when the moon is full. Magic exists in Temerant too, but obeys a well-defined set of rules and principles that can only be exploited by those who have trained in professional and scientific use. And then I'm just going to read a little bit more.
I was like, please don't tell me you're reading the entire Wikipedia.
No, I'm not going to read the entire thing. I don't want to read like the backstory. I'm trying to get to where we talk about
naming.
And I always like read these names wrong. So like there's like a whole internet subculture about how you say Kavoth's name. And like I watched Patrick Rothfuss PAX East panel on it, or PAX West
it's
panel.
It's a weird spell.
Like
so it's Kvothe.
Yeah.
So Kavoth.
He's the main character.
Coat, or how do you say it? How do you say the other version he goes by? It's Kote. Cote.
Yeah, this is
I don't know how to pronounce any of these names because it's a fucking book. So I just read it and I make it up as I go.
In your head, you have it. Yeah.
I literally just Googled how to pronounce. Let's see what she says.
Oh my god! Why is this a 23-second video? Kavoth, dear friends. So yeah. Anyways.
So he's the center of the story, and we start to learn throughout both of these books that he is a very extremely talented, extraordinary, and potentially magical individual, and that his story kind of unfolds as to like where he gets his experience from, and And it's just so fascinating because he starts out in this super, super dark place, almost like he's going to have PTSD for like the rest of his life, and like how he overcomes that and how he goes out into the world and like stays and embeds himself with different cultures and different kinds of people and educates himself and is going to university and then is going out into the world and learning these different things from different people. And there's like the layers upon layers upon layers of narrative devices that are built into this story cannot be overstated. Like, Patrick Rothfuss is a genius writer. And every time you go back and reread the books, you pick up new things and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't see that the first time. And that is just a testament to his writing ability. And I love the series so much. And I'm so glad that you're reading it because The Wise Man's Fear is head and shoulders above The Name of the Wind.
I am happy to hear that. Yeah, and somebody else pinged me on Twitter and was like, I saw your Instagram story. Why didn't you like it? And I kind of explained. And they were like, well, I think you'll really like Wise Man's Fear then, actually, because it delves a lot more into the current timeline. You feel a little bit more like there are stakes to be had. You're more involved. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm interested and down.
There's not a bunch of weird flashbacks. There's still some, but not as many.
Yeah, which is what I was like, okay, the whole story's a flashback. Please stop. But so this is a book that I've picked up after reading the book that Brittany is talking about. So I obviously hop back and forth between fantasy and reality. This book that I'm talking about is a psychology book. So it's called Give and Take, and it was written by Adam Grant, who has also written a book called Originals. I haven't read that yet. He is an American psychologist and author, and he is a professor at Wharton School of University of Pennsylvania. And he specializes in organizational psychology, which makes sense. So Give and Take is a book that is all about how we behave as human beings in mostly employment structures. So if there are 3 different types of people, there are takers, which I'm sure you all can very easily pick out someone that you have ever known that was a taker in your workplace. Mm-hmm. A lot of people kind of float between matcher and giver. Matcher obviously is pretty much, I mean, they all basically are what they sound like. Matcher is like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Very much a transactional sort of relationship with people in the workplace. And then givers are people who don't necessarily consider themselves at all and are all more about the greater good and are constantly giving. So I will pose a question to you two ladies of, when you're looking at a success bell graph, if you will, who do you think is at the lowest end of the spectrum?
So we're doing specifically a bell graph.
Or whatever, just in terms of like being a success and being a failure, who's at the bottom end, who's at the top? Who would you say of those 3 groups?
I would say that takers are probably at the top of the success chain and that givers are at the bottom because they give everything away and that they don't take for themselves. They're not selfish.
I'm going to be an ass. I'm going to say matchers was that it is probably at the end because a lot of people don't want to scratch your back, so you're not going to scratch their back.
Okay, but who do you think's at the top, Britt?
Oh,
give me both
takers.
ends.
Takers.
Okay. What would you do? Okay, so the actual answer is givers on both. Oh. So givers are the type of people who both succeed the most and have the most potential to do extremely well, and they also have the most potential to completely fail. And it's all about the way you give and the way you choose to spend your time. So like, the book really dives into, this is why I found the book so fascinating, because it really kind of opens out on that and you're like, wait, what? Oh no. Because I had the same thought. I was like, takers are obviously at the top because they're a bunch of assholes and they just will, strip the land dry if it gives them what they want. But so it's really been fascinating to read this book and see all of the different ways in which takers tend to trip and fail on themselves because other people can sniff them out and they're like, no.
You can only go it alone for so long.
You can only be a taker for so long before you have to become a faker. Yeah, so the book gets into that too. It was just so interesting to read all the different studies done and all the different types of businesses, because even if you think, okay, well, maybe being a giver will work in X business, it definitely won't work in this business. Not true. They've done studies on all types of businesses, all walks of life, all like executive level to like lower level. And so I'll just share a couple of the things with you. Obviously, I think the book is a total gem and you should pick it up and read it or listen to it or however you want to consume it. There's multiple ways. So being a giver, if you are a selfless giver, means you will probably end up at the bottom of the barrel, right? Like you are so just concerned about helping everybody. You're not really thinking about yourself. The really successful givers, the people who become CEOs or become like billionaires, are called otherish givers. And they're still very giving, and their goal is noble in a sense, but it's also selfish in a way. It's a weird sort of selfish giving where you're like, I have a goal in mind and I have standards in mind, but the end goal is usually about the greater good than myself. But it's sort of like an interesting parallel. So, or not parallel, but it's just an interesting dynamic between those two things. And then there's like also other studies of like the happiest you can really be is if it's doing at least 100 hours of community service a year or volunteer service. 100 hours is like the sweet spot of you will feel head and shoulders above like anything you've ever felt before, like or whatever. And like I was like, shit, maybe I should start volunteering. It's like the people who did that level have reported like way higher numbers of happiness. And obviously it needs to be volunteering to a cause you actually believe in, like you feel like you are impacting, because it can be a draining effect if you feel the opposite. So giving is a very interesting thing in that there was one person in particular that I found really interesting. It was like a teachers across America. I can't remember the exact name of the org, but basically teachers who give back to underprivileged communities. And this one girl was there like trying to crack at it, and her day job was really hard and really taxing, but and it's because she felt like she wasn't making a difference. And so she was just working all of the time and just feel like she was burning out. And at the book, it's like, well, you know, what should she do? Should she take more time for herself or what? And then it's like, well, no, actually what she did was she gave more. But she gave more very specifically. She gave more. She opened up her own chapters of mentoring specific people, or there was a mentorship program she did and another one that I can't remember off the top of my head. But she basically started 2 more foundations, but those things made her feel like she had an impact and that she was doing good, and it fueled her. And it made her feel so much better about the work she was doing at her school, her regular day job, that even that started to improve. So it's just like, man, it's so interesting to think how we always talk about how, you know, you need to take time for yourself and self-care and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, are we all wrong? Like, or maybe not totally wrong, but like, should we actually be looking at ways to give back even more to like to help fuel ourselves and our like that little fire that we have inside all of us? Like maybe the key is actually just giving back. Maybe it's not constantly worrying about yourself and how you're recharging, because giving back does tend to recharge you, as a lot of what these studies found. But again, it has to be something that you are very passionate about. It has to be something you believe in. It has to be something that you feel you are impacting.
It can't be like a forced giving. Yeah.
Correct.
It can't feel like an obligation. It needs to feel like something that you are empowered to do.
Yes. And then the other interesting thing is like if you're like, hey, yeah, maybe I should volunteer this year or whatever. They also found like if you do sprinkle giving is what they call it. Don't bother. Do chunking giving. So like if you're going to do a volunteer day, make it a day. Be like, okay, if I volunteer, I'm volunteering at this shelter for 6 hours on a Saturday, and that's what I do. But if you're like, well, I'll do a little, like an hour here, an hour there, or whatever. No, the benefits are not the same actually, and you will not get the benefit of feeling recharged or happy or any of that. It will just feel like it becomes part of your day-to-day tasks.
An hour you can easily pass just scrolling through Twitter or Instagram, right? Like so that's
true.
I mean, like that's like real talk. Like so when you're talking about having a meaningful impact on your psyche, like an hour feels like nothing, you know? It's like you might as well have just been working out. You'll get more, you know, positive health benefits than potentially volunteering. So I think this is really interesting. So who's the author of this book?
Adam Grant,
and it's called Give and Take.
Give and Take. And I need to read the next book he wrote. It's called Originals, but I have not read that yet.
Well, can I borrow this when you're done with it?
Yeah, I'm already done.
Oh, will you bring it next time I see you?
Yeah.
Excellent. Yes. I need to get more into nonfiction. So you guys have heard me say on the show many times that like I don't read nonfiction. Just straight up don't like it. Don't read it. Not my thing. But I'm realizing as I get older, you know what? Wise people have wise things to say, and maybe I should listen or read them.
I've always found psychology books really interesting. So if I'm being like, you must read a nonfiction, I'm going to go psychology because I just find our brains fascinating. That's what I read a couple years ago, like The Confidence Game, which is all about con men and how they get away with the things that they get away with. Who like, if you specialize in finance or something, you are actually more likely to be conned in that field than anything else because you have the belief that you will not be. Therefore, you are already susceptible. So it's just like fascinating little things like that where you're like, what? Wait, what? Is interesting. I always find it really interesting because I think we as humans are really fucked up, but in a cool way. And then there's another author that I will recommend to you after because I don't remember the name and I don't want to look it up. But they wrote The Devil in the White City, I think. And so those are like historical, but the way that they're written, I find history books really boring usually, most of the time. But I found The Devil in the White City to be fascinating. And he's got a couple other books that I'm also putting down on my list. Finish that sentence. And I had sort of a similar thing with you where I was in a mindset of like, I'm just going to read these fantasy books. And yes, fantasy books are great, but at one point I did really like to learn. So I feel like maybe bringing that back and like picking up some more science books, maybe. Yeah.
I love hearing about these things you're reading. It's fascinating and it makes me want to pick up stuff too. I mean, I've talked about my reading and it's mostly zombie books, but even those lately I'm like, But when you talk about these kind of things, I feel like that would be a really good way to spend time learning about the human brain. I started reading The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And I remember that was really good, but then I stopped because probably video games. But I should pick that back up.
Well, it's interesting. So I tried to read this. I bought this book last year at some point, like middle of the year or beginning of the year. And I tried to start reading it. And I don't think my brain was like exercised enough in reading anymore to have, I wasn't sticking.
Sure. Yeah.
But then I got into a habit of reading more. And now, a lot of that stuff was fantasy. And now I find myself much more capable again, like what I used to be, where I could read a bunch of other subjects and, I don't want to say not break a sweat because that sounds weird, but kind of, like your brain is like, yes, I have exercised this muscle. It is good now. And you can go forth and not really worry about it. So that is my, challenge to all of you. Not a challenge. That sounds aggressive. It's not aggressive.
It's an inspiration. It's a call to action potentially about making yourself a better human by gleaning some wisdom from other humans.
Yeah. That was very well put, Andrea. Thank you.
There you go. Well, I love that this week's What You've Been Playing has been a little bit unique, and I encourage all of us to maybe spend time with other mediums, even though this is obviously a video game show and always will be. I think that it's okay to acknowledge that we have other interests, and hopefully you guys enjoyed us talking about TV, books, and video games this week. So
Pickle Dicks.
Well, we always got Piccolo with his weird like cowl cape thing. Now we just need to put some eyes on it and it'll be fun.
Little googly eyes.
Exactly. Seriously, googly eyes is the best thing you could have said right now. Okay. That's going to do it for us this week. Thank you so much for tuning into the What's Good Games podcast. As a reminder, if you want to help support the show, you can always go to patreon.com/whatsgoodgames. We have memberships as low as just $2 a month. If that's just too many dollars for you, head to your favorite podcast platform and give us a 5-star review with a little note. That helps us out just as much. We love you guys. Thank you so much, and we'll be back next week.